Yes, I'm also here. Hello, everybody, and a very good evening to all of you. And Kusha, good to have you here.
Of course, I will be. I'm glad to be back here and have another collab with your amazing
Yes, it's
channel.
been such a long time, and I
Yeah, of
really
course.
enjoyed our first collab that we had. I think it's been 6 months already that we had our first collab, and that was some fun times we had. We had a match against each other, and you did defeat me. So not a good memory for me, but otherwise I did really enjoy our stream.
Yeah. I also enjoyed it very much because first of all, I played very good in that match, and second of all, of course, it's always great to play good matches against strong players, and it also provides a lot of value to myself, and hopefully people there also enjoyed. And yeah, hello to both chats. I'm reading both of them.
Yeah,
So any
hello
questions?
both the chats and welcome to the stream. And let us first introduce ourselves. So Kusha is my good friend and he's a very strong player. He's basically from Iran, but right now he is doing his PhD in Canada. And also, I want to congratulate you once again on stream for winning the recent on the board very strong event. So that was an amazing performance. And also tell a bit more about yourself, Kusha, to the chat.
So very quickly, if I want to introduce myself, my name is Koosha Jaferian. I'm currently studying PhD at the University of Toronto, but I'm generally Iranian, originally, I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, my rating is 2181 FIDE at the moment, 2500 CFC, but I'm still untitled, unfortunately. We are trying to play in some tournaments in the future to get that title.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully you guys can enjoy today's streams. And
Oh,
Rucha,
Barakowski is here in the chat. He says, "Oh my God, Mr. Kusha and Miss Rucha in the same stream together. This is the best stream ever."
wow, who says that?
Barakowski.
Oh, Parkovsky, great, great. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Hopefully you guys enjoy. It will be great if Rucha can also, you can also explain yourself and
Yes.
introduce yourself to my viewers if in
Yes,
case
of
they
course.
don't know you.
And Vishal says chess players are always good in study. And I remember in the first stream, I really put Kusha on the spot by asking him really tough math equations on the stream. And he said that he's a very strong mathematician. He's doing his PhD in that. And you have also won some tournaments, right? In maths. You have some medals
Yeah,
in
I'm
that.
actually not studying my PhD in mathematics. I'm studying my PhD in computer science.
Mm-hmm.
But during my high school and middle school, I was actually successful with many math Olympiad like things in Iran. I had some gold medals, some bronze medals.
Yeah.
Like I have an international bronze medal in international mathematics competition.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty good with math. Hopefully, please don't
Yeah,
ask
when he
me a
said
lot
that last time, we
of
really
questions.
asked him some tough questions on stream, like, very tough ones, and he also did that very well. So that was also pretty impressive. And again, hello, welcome to Kusha's chat, and I'm Women International Master Rucha Pujari from India, and I'm a professional player, I'm a trainer, I'm a streamer, and I'm doing all things related to chess. So, Kusha, what are we going to do today? Tell viewers about our plan.
So first of all, we when we reached out for the collab, and people already asking me mathematical questions. When we reached out for the collab for the first time, we decided this time to do something more chill. We don't want to go head to head against each other once more.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to actually show some games which are chosen from my own games
Mm-hmm.
today. But of course, I'm not going to be the only one speaking. Rucha is also going to ask a lot of questions, going to commentate on that, give her ideas. We decided to
Yes.
pick some games where I think it answers so many questions that general people in the chat might have. Like I'm gonna talk a little bit about how to talk a little bit about opening preparation, talk a little bit about time management, talk a little bit
Yeah.
about
So today is gonna be a very instructive
energy
stream, isn't
management in
it?
the matches. Yeah, I think very important things that people should know in the over the board tournament. We two are here to show some games and then
Mhm.
try to discuss these things that many people ask us. So of
Yeah, this
course,
is gonna be a very interesting session today, and there will be lots to learn, and we will be analyzing some of the games, but not just that. As Kusha just mentioned, we will be also talking about other things like time management and how to solve difficult problems in the openings, and how to think in advanced positions in tough situations like that. So there is something for everybody to take from this stream, and we can get started, and we can
yeah,
dive
of course.
in chess already.
Of course. Hopefully everybody's ready and hopefully everybody can enjoy.
Yes.
So
Okay,
yeah,
just a moment. Okay, so I'm in study right now,
yeah,
and
me too.
so let's start with the first part of the stream. And first part is about opening preparation, right?
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm. So tell about this
So
tournament that you were playing, and how you managed to win the tournament in such a strong field. What was your mindset when you went to that tournament?
yeah, I actually need to tell people that I haven't played OTB chess for the last 2 years because of the COVID situations, of course. But the thing was, I went into this tournament in Canada after 2 years without playing any classical chess. Well, of course, I have improved a lot, but there was a tough field. There were GMs, IMs, FMs, NMs.
Mhm.
Everybody was playing here. I wasn't the
And you
favorite to
also
win.
got your Canadian rating, right, in this
Yeah, I
tournament?
got my Canadian ratings, which is ridiculously high because I played very well in that tournament. And I think that the thing that helped me a lot during this tournament was my great opening preparation,
Mhm.
which I'm going to talk about in this stream. And we can discuss how you can prepare for your opponents and how you can shock them.
Mhm.
So in this tournament, it was a 5 round tournament. It was a short tournament, I have to say, and I managed to score 4 out of 4, and then make a quick draw in the last round to clinch the
Mhm.
tournament. So it was a very good performance. I was very happy with that. I'm
Yes.
going to share in the first part. I'm going to share 2 of these games with you.
Okay.
Uh,
So in this first part, we are going to focus on the opening preparation, right,
yeah,
and how to
yeah,
approach uh, these opponents, and how you manage to surprise them in the opening part.
yeah, of course. And don't worry, guys. I'm not going to only flex the wins. I also included some of my horrible losses in the games
Yeah.
because it will be interesting for viewers. Some viewers, I was once discussing with my chat
Mhm.
and asking them which kind of content do you like, and some of the people in my chat told me that we like to see you tilting, we like to see you losing,
Oh no.
more tilt, and
Mhm.
that's why I included some of the losses for
To show that
tilt
you're
path.
modest, yes. To
Yeah,
show chat that okay, I'm a modest person, so here is one or two losses I did in the study.
yeah.
Okay. So
Hello there.
I have to tell guys that Kusha is a very strong player, and he has played less tournaments, of course, recently because of the situation, but he is currently aiming for international master title soon. So currently he's
Not very soon
2200
actually, but we will
rated,
try our best.
and on Lee Chess he is around 2700 rated constantly. So he's aiming to achieve his IM title soon.
Hopefully.
Okay, let's go now. So this first game, what are we going to look at?
Okay, sure. So let me tell you the story about this first game. So
Hmm?
I went in this tournament after 2 years without playing chess.
Mhm.
I played online a lot, but no classical games like 90 plus 30 time control. So in the
Mhm.
first round, I faced a 1900 player, and I won the game, but it was a shaky game. I have to say, I didn't play that well. I made a lot of mistakes,
Mhm.
but I managed to win somehow.
Okay.
Uh, when I was returning home from the playing call, I was calculating who I'm gonna face probably in the next round. So there was a GM as a top seed of the tournament, Grandmaster Bator Sambuev, 3 times Canadian champion.
Mhm.
And if everything went like if all the favorites won in the first round, I would have faced that GM in my second round with white pieces on the first board.
Okay.
So I was in my mind preparing for him. What should I play against him? Not looking at his games. I was just thinking what
Yes, we all
options
do that.
fight. And I came up with something in my mind to play against him. I'm not going to reveal it because I might face him again.
Okay.
The future. But I went home and when the parents were out, I saw that this GM actually lost to a 2200 national rated player. And I'm facing that exact 2200 national rated player in the next round. So I was scared. I was scared saying that, oh my God, I'm facing an underrated player who's beating a GM and now is coming at me.
Okay, but you're also underrated, right? So it's a fair match.
Yeah, of course. So usually, Rucha, what do you do when you face a lower rated player which is looking very strong?
Um,
Like, what is your mindset when going to play a low rated player who already beaten like stronger players than you in the tournament?
okay, so for me, I approach the game in the same way, without looking at the rating first of all, and try to prepare the same way as if the same way I'm preparing for a strong opponent. And when you're playing tournaments, every round is important, so you cannot really underestimate any game. And every game is important, every move is important. So I make sure that I am, very much confident to approach the game, no matter who my opponent is. So that is my strategy every time.
Great. So that's the first thing that we can take away. You should always try to play the board and not thinking about the rating of your opponent, trying to focus on making the best move every time. But it's
Yes.
not as easy as easier said than done, I have to
Yeah,
say.
sometimes we do, or we are all guilty that even if we want to do this, it doesn't happen like that, right? Like if we
Yeah.
are facing a lower player, we sometimes manage to relax a little bit, or if we are facing a very strong opponent, we might get a little bit scared even if we don't want to. So some things are not in our control.
Yeah. So my preparation for this game, let me start. First of all, I checked his chess.com profile. And I saw that this guy is nearly high rated as me. Like he's 2700 on Chess and chess.com as well. So pretty strong player. He already proved his ability in classical chess by beating a GM the first round. So I was a little bit scared. Because he was low rated in FIDE. He's
Okay.
22 national, but in FIDE rating he was even low rated. So if I lose that game somehow, I will lose like a lot of points, which was very bad. I really didn't want that to happen.
Yes, and of course, in a tournament of 5 rounds, it's very difficult to make a comeback, right?
Yeah,
If
exactly.
you
You
fall
can just win
behind.
your tournament. You can go under some mental pressure if you lose to low rated very quickly. Right at the very start, it can, even if you're in form, mentally it can affect you in a negative way. So I looked up his games on his online profiles, and I saw that he has a very solid repertoire. He almost plays the same thing against everything.
Okay.
Like, for example, against e4, he was playing e5. Against d4, he was playing knight of 6, e6, d5, and so on. So
Okay. So
the thing
before,
was that,
okay, 1 second. So just want to mention that the first game that we are going to look at, Kusha has named this chapter or named this game as Opening Preparation Part 1, when to play offbeat openings and how to meet them. So that is what we are looking at right now. So this
yeah.
is how we are going to approach. Okay, go on.
So I looked at all his games in different openings. Like I was planning, first of all, for some Rui Lopez maybe against e4, e5, some Scotch maybe some Catalan with d4. I looked at all my files that I had, and I saw that he has like 100,000 games on lichess. He's the guy who plays like literally 200 games a day. And
Mm-hmm.
any line that I played, I
200
saw
games
that
a
any line
day.
that I played,
200 games a day. Oh my God.
I mean, very much. He almost always plays online, and I saw that
Mm-hmm.
every line that I played, he met that before in an online game against
That's
somebody, and he knows what
crazy.
he.
That's
I
crazy.
was like, how am I supposed to get advantage against this guy?
Mm-hmm.
He just played everything. Nothing is new for him. Everything that I play, he's already met, and so I was like, what to play?
Okay.
But now comes the interesting part.
Okay, this
The
is gonna
interesting,
be very much fun for everyone.
yeah,
So go
the
on.
interest,
But I want you to make the first move already.
yeah, sure. You can make it, or I should do it. I
Yeah,
don't know.
you handle the board. So.
Okay, sure. So I have a secret weapon that I sometimes, when I don't like the openings that my opponents play against d4 and e4 and the main lines, is that sometimes I use this opening to shock my opponents over the board. So I played one before. I planned for this during my
Yes.
tournament, during my preparation.
Mm-hmm.
So I started with one before. So the thing I like, no, not Bomb Cloud, of course, guys.
Yeah, but I have to mention that, Kusha just did not go to the game and played one move before, but he has a lot of preparation in this line. So he knows what he's doing with white.
Yeah, of course. So in this chapter, I want to discuss how to meet such openings over the board if you sometimes face them, and what mistakes my opponent made when handling such kind of openings. So
Mm-hmm.
I started the game with b4, and I actually prepped for that. I had this weapon beforehand. I played it in some OTB tournaments, but of course my opponent didn't knew because
Yeah, we
there
don't
was no
really
games for
prepare
me in the
for before, right?
yeah in the
Even with
database.
black.
There was no games for me playing before. I had some online games, but in my online profile, I'm actually playing a lot of Knight f3. You see enough of this stream, enough of my stream, you'll see that most of the time in blitz games and bullet games, I start with Knight f3 and b3 and g3, playing a very
Yeah, double
solid
fee and
kind of.
shadow, right? Double
I
fee and shadow.
really didn't want to play that in my OTB tournament because I knew that my opponents are all gonna check that and prepare on the most frequent thing that I'm playing. So
Mm-hmm.
that was completely out of question for
Now
me.
your
I never
opponents
gonna
are
play.
also going to watch this stream, okay? Just remember
Yeah.
that.
So I'm not gonna reveal all my preps here.
Okay, go on. So before he's played.
So before he's played, and I saw that he's going for this line, which is the most critical line against one before, going with e5 and then taking the pawn on b4, and I take the pawn on e5.
Mm-hmm.
So in this variation, which is the most critical way to meet one before, white is actually having a better center because I actually traded a flank pawn with a central pawn, and so positionally, white is much better. But the thing for black is that black is having a lead in development, and we can actually castle much faster and then win a tempo also on my bishop. So
Mm-hmm.
here, black's position is much more active,
Okay.
of course. And white's advantage is that they're trying to slowly develop with e3, bishop e2, and castle.
Mm-hmm.
And if they manage to consolidate, if white manages to consolidate and get a good control over the center with his extra central pawn, white is going to have a better position in this one.
Okay. So
So
what is
black,
the fundamental idea of one move b4? What is the general
yeah,
structure for white when you play
yeah,
b4?
of course. So the good thing is that my opponent is not that familiar with that. He hasn't played enough games in this, but I did. So that's kind of an advantage that I'm having. Uh, so he was completely shocked. I could have told from his face. He
Mm-hmm.
wasn't expecting to see one before.
Yes.
So yeah, I kept going with my plan, e3. And the thing is that here, if black plays slowly and goes for something like bishop f8, which I show in another game to you today, and try to play passively with d6, then white simply goes with gaining the
And
center
takes
with
the
d4,
center.
bishop d3, and
Okay.
white is much better. If black doesn't know what they're doing, it's going to be problematic. So black has to go with the initiative. Black has to attack.
To take
Otherwise,
initiative that your king is still in the center, right? So to
yeah,
do something with that. And what was the time format in this game?
it was 90 plus 30.
Okay, so classical Fisher mode, as it is called
Yeah.
as.
So
90 minutes plus 30 seconds each move.
Yeah, here takes, and bishop e2. That's the main line of the game, which was played over the board.
Okay.
So when I was exploring his games, exploring my opponent's games, I mean, he played 100,000 games. So there was some b4 games as well in between them. And there was one game which reached this position where it was a blitz game that my opponent played. And here he goes with this dubious sack with rook e3 in that online game that he had. So
you had studied this particular online game that he had played?
Yeah.
Before you went to the game?
Yeah, of course, I saw his online game, and the good thing was that his opponent didn't know what they're doing, and they got checkmated in like 20 moves. So I thought that there's a high chance that he goes for this sack against me as well, especially after you beat a GM in the first round. You're hyped, you're actually full of confidence, and you might decide to go for such a sack. You won once in your online game, you won pretty easily, and so
okay, what do you think? Let's ask the chat. What do you think black played here? Can you guess black's move here? Black to play. Rucksack, says Miraz.
Yeah, somebody in my chat says 93, but 93, the thing is that I just take with the F pawn, and after rook e2, I just castle. So my king is going to be safe, and there's not going to be any problems. Let me show that. Like 93, f e2, rook e3, white castle.
And after castling, white is fine. And next move, even you can go.
Totally fine. I'm actually ahead in material, and even my rook on the f file combined with these two bishops. Can people in your chat also see the arrows that I'm drawing or not? I don't know.
Sorry?
Can people in your stream also see my arrows?
We can see the arrows, yes.
So in that, we are material up, we got a good rook, we can bring the bishops.
This is just fine for white, right? This is no problem.
Line.
Yeah, rook e3 was played. Rook e3 was played in the
main line here is bishop g4, I have to say, as somebody in my chat also mentioned.
Yeah, bishop g4, good move.
There's going to be a tough fight ahead. I'm going to castle. My king is safe, and I have two central pawns while my opponent doesn't have any.
Yes.
And the thing about this position is that if white manages to trade minor pieces, white is nearly winning, because I just have a solid pawn structure in the center, and I can use the B and C file to attack black's queenside pawns. So for example, in some openings like Benko Gambit, where black sacks the pawn just to open up two files on the queen side, I got these two kind of files without even sacking a pawn. So if I manage to trade all the minor pieces,
you would like to play that endgame with white.
Yeah, of course. But black also tries to use their initiative with bishop d6, maybe some rook lifts, trying to attack on the king side. So I need to be careful. But
we should say those suggested bishop g4, good job, because even if you're not familiar with the positions, you have to get these instincts and try to develop your pieces and play normally. And first of all, focus on which pieces you have to improve. So good job in finding bishop g4.
Yeah. So that's it. But I saw that my opponent once played this, and I was prepped for that. If you check my lichess profile, I played this position already 5 times, and I won every single time against all my opponents.
So if you guys want to check his profile, his lichess username is Mr. Koosha J. Yeah. So if you would like, you can do that.
So I played that online 5 times against my against 5 title players, and I won every single game because I know what am I doing. The thing about this sacrifice, the point is that after takes, black wins 3 pawns, and doesn't allow white to castle anymore. White is in check, and they need
Yeah,
to.
this looks a bit scary for white, isn't it?
Yeah, very scary. If you face it for the first time over the board, it's so hard to find the correct solution. But I was prepared for that. So I knew
Yes.
that he might go into this line, and I knew what I'm going to do. So the mistake that many people make here as white players who face this for the first time is to play king f2, which is a bad move here because black goes bishop h3, and then this is actually the game that he played online, which won very easily. He played bishop h3, and after bishop c5, it was
The
all
king
over.
is under attack. Okay, so where should we go then instead of, if not king f2?
Yeah, so king f2 is the first thing that usually people play as their first instinct.
It looks very natural even for me. It looks pretty natural move to play king f2.
Yeah, because it attacks the knight.
Yes.
So I went king d1. And the good thing, one more thing to mention, I wanted really to bait him to take this sacrifice, to sack the rook. So usually when I'm prepared, very good in an opening, I blitz out the moves in order to put mental pressure on my opponent. But this time, I showed a lot of hesitance in my first moves, like showing that I'm not that much familiar with this setup, not blitzing all the moves.
Yeah, you want to make the poker face.
That he doesn't think that he's going into prep. Because if you blitz out all the moves, your opponent is going to think this guy knows what he's doing. So I'm not going to sack and go all in.
Yeah, mind games.
Once he started sacking, I started blitzing all these moves.
Yeah, on the board, this really matters. Online, you know, if you are just playing online, you don't know about this. But on the board, these things really matter. And you can feel your opponent when you're playing.
Yeah, exactly. He told me after the game that he actually spent like half an hour on taking on e3 over the board. He didn't blitz out rook takes e3. And he told me that he really wanted to sack. And after like half an hour of thinking, he said that I said to myself, if I spend that much time and don't play this sack, I will say like I spent my time for nothing. So he was just calculating this, whether I should go for it or not. And he couldn't stop himself going for that. And he went for it. So yeah, you're here. I'm a rook up.
So king d1 is played, but still, so far the king is misplaced. So black is trying to create some chances here. Still not easy at all.
Actually, the evaluation by the engine is 0-0 here with high depths. So I analyze this position. If black knows what they're doing, black can make a draw in this line. Okay. But the thing is that bishop e6 is the natural move, which you also play. When I go queen d3 and offer the trade of the queen. But here, the only move that holds.
Okay, wait. Let's ask. Let's cast. Let's cast. What will you play with black here?
What do you guys play with black here?
So you know how to try to balance this position.
Absolute genius.
How to try to play for compensation
here. Yeah.
Queen capture d3 is a suggestion. No queen trade for sure. So on two different spectrum we have queen trade or not to trade. That's the question, right?
Yeah.
That's a very big decision right now on the board. So whether to trade here or not.
Yeah, of course. So I can explain, or we might wait for more people to tell their opinions. Somebody says queen f8 in your chat. Somebody says queen d3 because it's here.
So we have queen d3, queen f8, queen e7.
Yeah. So
everybody likes queen e7 right now.
Exactly. So queen e7 is the move that when I played this against 5 title players online, everybody played queen e7. Everybody. It's the first instinct. You're rook down and your opponent's king is weak. He's in the middle. So who in the world just takes the queen?
Yeah, this is very natural that you have sacrificed a rook. So you have to try to keep material, right?
Yeah.
If you want to create an attack.
Yeah, but the line which the only line that draws for black and keeps the equality is to take and go bishop g4, as somebody in your chat suggested.
Yeah, good job. Good job.
And the thing is that after bishop e2, they go knight f4, and the compensation is enough somehow. Okay. It's hard to explain, but I have some problems with this pin.
So I guess next rook e8 is coming.
And it's a long theoretical line that ends in a draw, ends in a repetition. where I go rook f1, and at some point black takes this and then keeps repeating, like bishop h3. When I move the rook away, they go back bishop g4 and
Okay,
maintain.
some crazy engine lines there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not, if black doesn't know the theory, of course they're going to play queen e7. Even if they're a GM, I believe they're going to play queen e7.
Yeah, even I would like to play queen e7 here because we want to keep the queens, right? And even it looks quite tempting to play rook d8 next.
Yeah, of course. So this is the plan, but that everybody plays against me, but this is completely losing. This is already +4 for white. Already.
So just one move changed the whole evaluation,
just
right?
one very normal move, queen e7, which looks not bad, and I'm winning.
And it's a
and somebody in my chat mentions that I'm very nervous about g7 here, and they're completely right. So the move here, which I knew coming into the game, was knight b4, and I played it very quickly. Imagine he's thinking 10 minutes for all these moves, but I'm blitzing out all the best defenses, which I know, and he was mentally completely destroyed. Knight b4 was played here. So there are two lines. One line is to go knight f4, which many people played against me already. The thing is that I take, and after takes, I go queen b4, and I attack all these points in black's position.
And you can't defend all of them right now. So too many attacks.
And I had one game which went bishop b3 takes, queen e2, and king c2.
Yeah, this is a really crazy line, right? It's a nice line.
Here I'm a rook up. I'm also threatening all the pieces. Black doesn't have any. Oh, what are these arrows that I'm drawing? Okay. I'm threatening three things.
So black can only defend two, maybe knight e6, and then you can take the bishop then, or bishop f8.
Queen b4, it's actually defending everything, because after queen b4 there's queen f5, but it's still a rook down. The king is safe. Knight c3, d3 is going to be played. I'm going to win very easily in this one. It's already +5 or something.
Okay.
But in the game he played rook d8, and I took, and after bc6 I went queen g3. So again, the same idea. I'm attacking the pawn and the knight. So
white wins the material back here after queen g3.
Yeah. If I win the knight, I'm a rook and a knight up against two pawns, which is...
Yeah, knight d4 was a nice move. So queen e7 was the move that completely changed the result, I have to say, of the game. So rook e3 is still fine, but if you're going to play the sacrifice, you have to know the following moves, following variations.
Somebody in my chat suggests, but here somebody in my chat suggests rook g1. But the thing is that after rook d8, the engine already says that it's equal. So if you take and he takes, and you take this, somebody in my chat suggests that it's very messy. I know you win some material back. You already, I think, have two rooks against the queen, but the problem is that your position is still not so solid. The queen is going to have a lot of targets to attack in this position. So this is evaluated as -0.6 for black. And it makes sense because, first of all, black has two pawns and a queen against two rooks. So materially, black is up.
Yeah, but white is also threatening some rook h7, rook h8 coming up.
Yeah, but black has also some threats like queen d7 ideas. My king is still weak. Maybe bishop g4 comes. So yeah, that's an interesting line. But knight d4 is, of course, the line that I knew and I played.
Knight d4 is the best. And after queen g3?
And after g6, it was the first position where I started thinking in the game, really. And I just need like two good moves to finish off the game.
So we are on move number 17, and this is the first. You are still in your prep, as we can say.
I'm still in my prep, and it's +6.6 against somebody who beat a GM. So this shows that good preparation can sometimes get you free wins as well.
Yeah, of course.
So
this was also, a smart preparation, I can say. First, it is important to identify what are the opponent's weaknesses, and then once you found out that, as you said, this opponent had like thousands of games, so it is impossible to go through them. So you need to find the traits. So you need to find, first of all, weaknesses, and only then you can build up an idea against it.
Yeah, of course.
So it's like smart preparation.
Yeah, so here in this position, now I want to talk about another concept which many people might find interesting, which is converting a winning position. Very important. So, of course, Emmanuel Lasker once said that winning a winning position is the toughest thing to do.
Yeah.
And he's absolutely right. Yeah, I knew that I'm completely winning. I'm a rook up and I can win another knight. But in this position, I calculated this line, which Engine says it's the best. Engine says, go ahead and take the knight. The thing is that after bishop d5, I have bishop f3. That's not a problem. But I was a little bit scared of this sack with bishop d2, knight d2, queen b4. And I saw that I can play bishop c1. I saw it till here. But it's looking a little bit like tough to convert over the board. Like my king is completely naked. I'm holding my king just by some minor pieces. Although I'm a rook and 2 minor pieces up, but I wasn't feeling that comfortable going into that. So I decided to go with queen e5, more simple approach. So queen e5, I'm threatening to mate him.
So now f6 maybe?
f6 he has to play, only move, and now I take. So the thing is that although the engine says black can take, this is like resignation because I take back with a bishop and I'm a rook up and my king is safe. So if he takes this, it's like instant resignation because it's
this is also something I follow, and I also keep telling my students that if you're up material, try to play simple chess. Don't try to complicate things because you have already done a lot of work. So try to exchange if possible, try to play simple and just convert the game, take home the whole point.
Yeah, of course.
So that's a good finish with queen f6.
Yeah, exactly. So queen f6, he tried his best to complicate the matters with rook d2. And I took, he gave me a check, I went king c1, and after queen c5, I played knight c4, and in this position, he resigned.
Yeah, now queen g7 is coming up next, and even queen h8, queen g7.
Complicate the matters, but it wasn't enough. He's actually running out of pieces. He sacked everything to mate me, and now he's getting mated himself. So
yeah, this was like, we can say miniature, just 21 moves only. And it was all in your prep, we can say. So you got the point by your preparation.
Yeah, I have to say that this game was completely done by prep. I finished the game with 1 hour and 15 minutes on my clock.
Yeah, that's
so
nice.
And like 10 minutes of that I spent in the moves that I knew, which I was trying to bait him to sack. So that's the game, but now we're going to have an interesting discussion.
Okay.
The thing is that what you guys do when you face an offbeat opening over the board, that's the big question.
Yeah, like, that's a very important question because, also recently the trends are changing and a lot of players are playing offbeat openings and even gambit lines a lot. So we can see a lot of...
Imagine you prepared for your opponent in e4 or d4 or knight f3 or some of these main lines, and suddenly you go into the board and your opponent shows up and plays g4 or plays g3 or plays a3. What do you think is the best strategy, Rucha, to meet such kind of openings?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question that you have asked because what happens is that when an opponent plays, let's say, first move g4, our first reaction playing with black is that, okay, we want to punish this guy, he's not playing the natural openings or the conventional openings. So that's the first thought we think. Or even let's say somebody plays bone cloud or starts with f3 first move. So first idea is that you want to punish them, isn't it?
Exactly. Like many people think that when their opponent plays a move like a3 or their opponent plays a move like g3 or b4, it's losing. They should win the game, otherwise they should be ashamed. Some people think like that, and which is a very completely wrong mindset. And the thing is that when they do this and they don't get any advantage out of the opening, they feel frustrated. Even if they get an equal position, they say that I didn't punish his g4, I didn't punish his b4. And mentally it puts them under some pressure. So personally, my recommendation is to play something very solid. For instance, against b4, if somebody plays b4 against me, I usually try to go with a very solid structure like this. Just develop the pieces. Like, for example, a London-like structure can be good. Very solid, equal position. It's a game ahead, so...
Yeah. Yeah, it's also a good idea to grab the center, play simple chess, develop the pieces. That's the way to go. And don't really, focus all your energy on trying to punish your opponent, but focus on your development.
Yeah, of course. So that's my recommendation personally against the offbeat opening is to play normal chess. Just develop your pieces.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know what you're doing, I mean, some people, like some strong players, might have a very good prep with critical lines against g4 or b4 or h3. If you have a prep, if you're ready, go ahead and do it. It's not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But if you actually don't know what you're doing, if you're shocked by the opening,
Mm-hmm.
just play normal chess. Just
Yeah.
develop your piece and king safety, controlling the center, as most of the people said here.
Yeah, that's the best
That's my
advice.
recommendation.
And not
Chess
take
opening.
pressure about the fact that you have to punish your opponent.
Exactly. So just to finish off this game, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
show two other games, not in detail, but I'm going to show very quickly what can happen if you play something completely silly against b4. For example, I had another game against an FM, very strong FM actually.
Mm-hmm.
He's also currently living in Canada, and he's Iranian, also living in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And in this game, he wanted to punish my b4 somehow, and he played c5, and he went with a very weird opening strategy with queen a5.
Okay.
I mean, this is what you don't want to do when facing an offbeat opening. Just you need to follow the rules of chess.
Yeah,
Not
this happens quite often that we go, extra mile to punish them, and then we just end up with something which we would not prefer at all.
yeah. So showing this game very quickly, I developed all my pieces. I played
Mm-hmm.
very simple chess. I was also first time facing this opening, so I just followed the rules of chess.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see, the game reached this position. It moved number 13, and it's already +4 for white. Although the material is even,
Mm-hmm.
full
Yeah,
house in the
black's king
card
side
is
is
undeveloped.
completely underdeveloped at all.
Yeah, and I'm already winning out of the opening. So if you
Mm-hmm.
don't know what you're doing against such opening and you play something very strange or something that you invent over the board which doesn't follow the rules of chess, you
Yeah.
might face such kind of positions. So again,
Yeah,
I
follow the
recommend
opening principle. That's the great
just follow
advice.
the opening principles. Yeah,
Yeah.
that looks horrible for black. I completely agree with somebody in your chat. Um, and just to show some funny things, I had another game in this line where black played bishop g4
Okay.
in this position. And here in that game, I wasn't familiar with this line. I was saying that if I go h3, g4, my pawn structure in both sides are going to be a little bit shattered. I might not be able
It's
to
like both the
castle.
sides you're pushing the,
Yeah. And
B4
I
and
said that if I
G4.
play knight f3, my pawn structure is still going to get some double pawns.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, it's going to be tough to play the rest of the game with a weakness on b4 with double pawns here. So I decided in the game to play queen c1
That's
because
a
my
very
idea was
interesting move, I really like
uh,
this idea with
my
Queen
idea
C1.
was to play e3 and bishop e2.
Yeah.
Uh, and they played e6, e3, knight f6, b5, knight d7, f4,
Mm-hmm.
c6, a4. And this is the position after move number 7. The thing that is funny was that everybody in the playing hall passing through our board
Mm-hmm.
was like standing there for a moment, looking at my score sheet, and is like, how in the world such position appear on the board after 7 moves?
Yeah,
And
it's very difficult
one
to
thing that
guess
I like when I play this b4 opening,
because
everybody's
there is
stopping by and watching the score sheet with surprised face. It's always interesting to me.
because there is no pawn on E4, there is no pawn on D4, not even C4. So how did we reach here?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
okay, the
And the
idea of
guys
Queen
are,
C1 was to play E3 and, to prepare F4 and then Bishop E2, Knight F3. That's why Queen C1 is like a novel idea here.
yeah, I mean, this is probably not good. The engine doesn't like it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I don't try this at home for sure, guys. But I managed to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody here was like, what is Koosha doing? So don't try this at home, but
Don't try this at home.
I just wanted
Only
to
at
show you
tournaments,
some.
right? Only at, serious tournaments where everything is at stake. Only try there. Don't try at home.
Yeah. So that's the first part. Hope you
Mhm.
guys enjoyed it. Any questions from me, from Rucha, everybody?
Yeah, but this was fun, to see a B4 game and the mindset behind it. Because it's
Yeah,
always interesting to know when somebody plays B4 what they're thinking, and it's good to know that.
yeah, of course. And the good thing is that you should know that if your opponent plays a move like b4 against you,
Mhm.
for sure, you should be 100% sure that they're not playing it over the board for the first time. They know what they're doing. Most of
Yeah,
like 90% of the time, they know what they're doing. My opponent thought that I'm just playing like without knowing anything,
yeah,
and
that's very risky. Here we have a
yeah.
nice question. So, Zebrafish asks, did you get your B4 repertoire from a book or from your own research?
So I actually started from a book. There was a book, Shock Your Opponents with One Before, and I read some parts of that book,
Hmm.
but the thing is that I don't play like the book all the time. I got some ideas from the book, but in some parts I changed the recommendations in the book by my own experience because like when you play some lines in the book, you sometimes feel that the positions that you're getting is not good. So you go and do your research in that line, maybe see some other games, some other ideas, and try to find something that suits your
Yeah,
style
that's
best.
creative opening preparation, we can say. So even if you are studying a book, it's a good idea to check it. And in this case, engines can be very useful. So you can take help from the engines at the same time and try out different lines, different ideas, and also improve your opening preparation. So even with the help of book, you can add more lines with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to next game now.
So the next game is also about opening preparation.
Okay.
Uh, in the exact same tournament, I
Mm-hmm.
had this game the second round. I won very convincingly, but in the afternoon, like it was in the morning, this first game I show you. In the afternoon, I faced a very tough player, Canadian under 18 champion, FIDE master Sean Rodrigue Lemieux.
Okay.
Um, he's rated like 2300 plus. He's a FIDE master. Very strong player,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the fight for taking the lead in the tournament. So very
Okay.
important opening. So I'm gonna explain my preparation for this game as well.
Mm-hmm.
So in this game, I had literally 1 hour to prepare because the pairings came out at 2 p.m. and
Okay.
the game was starting at 3 p.m. So I had like 1 hour to decide what I'm going to play with white pieces. I got
Just
double white.
okay, just to stop you in between, but we have a question by Just Be a Student. Is it too risky? Because you can be punished for this weird stuff like before, as I understand the only idea is to confuse your opponent.
The thing about one before is that to give it to the engine, the
Yes, as
evaluation is like 0-0. It's not losing.
yeah,
If
as
you try to
even
manage,
Kusha mentioned before, he did not just go and play this move on the board. He had a lot of preparation. As we also saw in the first game, he had prep for first, already 15 moves. So it's not just to surprise opponent, but it's like he's also has a repertoire in it.
yeah, of course. First of all, I have a repertoire, but also I believe that even if black is well prepared, black is not going to get a winning position or a better position. It's just going to be equal.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you check with the Stockfish 14,
Mm-hmm.
it evaluates it as 0-0. Some people think that b4 is bad and black should be winning if they play right, but it's not. It's simply not.
Yeah.
Even if black plays all the best moves and white knows what they're doing, it's going to be equal. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting an equal position in a structure where I'm more familiar with. My
Yeah.
opponent is not familiar with the structure, but I'm familiar with it.
Yeah,
So
that's actually a good point you raised, Kusha, just now. That openings is all about finding something that you like and that you feel comfortable in. So you can choose whichever opening you like. And if I have to give an analogy to it, analogy. Okay, if I have to give a reference to it, it's like going to a restaurant and then, there is so much on the menu. There are so many options on the menu. but everybody likes something different to eat. So not everybody orders the same thing, right? So it's finding about what you like personally and then selecting that from the menu. So opening is something like that. First, try to understand your taste, what you like, which positions you like, which structures you like, and then go for it.
Yeah, of course. So for prep for this game, I said to myself, first of all, Knight F3, I played a lot online. I have many games.
Mhm.
And second of all, before I already played this morning, so he's definitely gonna look at it. He's not gonna get
Okay.
shocked again, like my
So
first
this next
opponent did.
game is
He's gonna
from the same tournament, and he played this on the same day. So he got double white, of course.
B3 is also a good opening. Some people in your chat mentioned. I usually play B3 first of all, starting with Knight F3. And the reason I do that is that I don't like the line where black pushes E5 against B3. Personally, I don't like it. Some people might do. But since I don't like that, I first play Knight F3, and after a move like B5, for example, or Knight F6, then I play B3 in order to stop black from getting the control over the center. That's my taste. But B3 straight away, if you know what you're doing against E5 or moves like that, it's also perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
But this game is different. This game, I'm playing a main line. I'm playing. It's a
Okay,
completely
so
different prep.
the second one, Koosha has written here, playing against opponents with solid repertoire. So
Yeah,
looks like your opponent has very solid repertoire, as you saw in your opening prep, I guess.
yeah, of course. So first of all, as I was saying, Knight of Fan before were out of question for me because I know that he's gonna prepare on that. So I don't want to go into his preps. Wanted to kind of be surprising for my opponent. So I was considering between either E4 or D4. C4 was also an option, but I saw that he's playing with white. With white, he's playing C4, and that shows that he's going to be familiar with the structures that are arising after c4. So I was deciding not to play c4 against this guy. So I was thinking about whether to play d4 or e4 in this position, and my opponent was somebody with a very solid repertoire. By solid repertoire, I mean there are two kinds of opponents. One kind of opponent is people who play everything. Like you see their games against e4, they play c6, they play e6, they play d5, they play e5.
Yeah, very
And they're
diverse
just
repertoire.
unpreparable. Like you can't prepare for these guys. Uh, he wasn't like that. He was a guy with a very solid repertoire, just following one line against everything, but knowing that very well.
Okay.
Like there are two kind of guys, like solid repertoire, guys who play everything, like literally everything. Rucha, personally, I want to ask you, which kind of guys do you like to play the most? Against people who play everything, or against people who just play one thing?
Um, well, that's a tough question, actually. I don't know if I have a preference like that. So,
Me too.
yeah, I don't have a preference like that. But yeah, it requires different kind of strategy for you in the opening prep. So, when your opponent is playing just one line, it you know it that it is easy to maybe know what they're playing, but not so easy to even prepare against them, because it's a
Like,
tough choice. Either you want to go into that line which they have played like millions of times, or to play something different in which is also different for you. So that is always two paths which are very different to choose from in such situation.
yeah, exactly. Like there's a quote from Bruce Lee saying that I'm not fearing a guy who practiced 100 things just once. I fear the guy who practiced only one thing like 100 times.
Yes.
This is actually shows that even if somebody plays one line and they know what they're doing, it's very hard to prepare against them.
Yes.
So I did my research and I decided that I looked at my files that I had, and I didn't even had access to my laptop before, like in the 1 hour span. My laptop was in my home, which was far away from playing halls. So just had to use my phone to prep. So I brought one of the books that I had with 1d4 repertoire,
Mm-hmm.
and I decided to follow that book.
Okay,
Um,
which book was it?
It was 1d4 by Boris Avruk.
Yeah, it's a very famous series by Avruk. So guys, if you are learning one move d4, we can highly recommend to check that series.
Yeah, of course, from Grandmaster Repertoire series.
Yes.
And I didn't even have a chessboard or chess space to play the lines. I just had to read the book and memorize and see what's going on, to see the plans. So I decided to play the Catalan opening in the honor of woman international master Rucha Pujari, who's a master in this time.
Thank you. Okay, so you decided to play Catalan?
Yeah. I decided to play Catalan, and I knew he's going to play into this line, which is the main line of the Catalan. We just castle, takes, queen c2. And here...
Okay, this is the main line of the Catalan. And those who are new to openings, I want to first tell that the Catalan opening is the g3 line against the QGD. So that's how simple it is to learn. So QGD is the Queen's Gambitic line. So just a moment. So in the start, if you play d4, d5, c4, e6, this is the QGD. And in that, when you play the g3 setup, it becomes the Catalan.
You can also move the pieces on the board, of course, if you want to.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, so here we are in the main line of that.
Yeah, I think in the first moves we can explain more because I know you're more experienced in that opening compared to me. So I prefer to stay silent for a moment.
No, you go on. So yeah, queen c2 is played.
And he plays the move a6. The idea is that after taking on c4, he's going to play b5 and bishop b7.
And then develop the bishop just in time with fiend shadow.
So there's a trendy line nowadays, which, yeah, exactly. Batcave Joe explains in your chat that a4 is very trendy nowadays. I also sometimes play a4 if I'm in the mood, but for that game, my strategy was not to go with a4 because if the positions are more complex, I think it requires more new knowledge. Like you can't use outdated books for a4.
Okay, but 1 second, with a4, you can, even after you take queen c4, black can still play b5, right?
No, they usually don't play b5, I think. I think they usually play bishop d7 and bishop c6 and knight b7 ideas, develop like that, and control over the d5 and e4 squares. Yeah. But I'm not sure. Maybe there are some b5 ideas which I don't know. You know better, of course.
No, not. Okay, so a4 is one of the lines, and in the game, I think you took the c4 pawn, right?
Yeah, of course. I took the c4 pawn. I was ready for that. b5, queen c2, bishop b7. And in this position, the main line is to play bishop d2.
Yes. So this is a very main move here for white. And the whole idea of playing bishop d2 here is that, you want to avoid black playing c5 just in time. And you have to fix this bishop on a5. So it's like you're stopping the a6, b5 pawn. And at the same time, you're stopping black from playing c5. So this is a very positional idea, we can say, which is very helpful for white. Exactly.
So the main idea for black in this line is to play like knight b7, c5. And if black manages to do that, black is going to have zero opening problems afterwards. So against a move like knight b7, the best move is to play bishop a5 here and stop the c5 push. Very interesting. But I knew that my opponent is playing this rook a7 idea, which is actually a pretty new idea compared to knight b7 and knight b6 ideas. I was prepared for that. I played rook c1, bishop b4, queen b3. I knew my opponent
is a very, interesting idea. So it may seem like a little bit weird, but the whole plan with rook a7 here is that now if you play this, black plays bishop e4 and the c7 pawn is saved. So black is still playing bishop e4 anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And another idea with rook a7 is to vacate the a8 square for the queen. And at some variations, black moves the queen to a8 and combined with this bishop on e4, they create some tactical ideas in the long diagonal. So that's the thing. Okay, so bishop e4 is generally the main move here for black anyway in this line. there are so many top games here. I've seen the database, like Kramnik against Anand, Aronian against Anand, Kramnik against Leko. Many games in top level has been played. Unlike before, which I played in the first game, this game is a very trendy
Yeah.
line in top
So this is
level as
like
well.
complete opposites, we can say. First game was, complete offbeat, and this is like we are directly approaching the main theory of Catalan.
Exactly.
So completely different games.
I agree. So what else do we have here? So I kept going with queen b3, knight c6, e3. I knew all that. I was prepared for this. And after queen d1, b4, I think here my preps ended. Like,
Okay.
Actually, it was on my own here, but it's not an acceptable position to play. And I saw in the book that one of the typical ideas here for white is to play queen f1, try to defend the bishop on g2, and then try to complete their development with bishop e1 and knight b2. I also saw that idea in some different lines, but I wasn't like 100% sure, so I decided to start thinking during the game.
Okay.
So I went with this idea, which was pretty good. Queen f1, bishop e1, and we developed the knight. So my development is complete. His development is also complete, and I think we are having a...
Yeah, and in this, in these lines like Catalan, we can go slow because this is a lot about even maneuvering the pieces. So even though right now it seems a little bit uncoordinated for white, in long term it's completely fine for white because now the knight jumps to c4 and slowly all the pieces will be fine for white. So it is all about maneuvers. Even for black side, black is playing, queen a8 and then taking control of the long diagonal. So it's about long-term ideas in these lines.
Exactly. Good point. And here my opponent went with a wrong plan, actually, I have to say. I think he got a high plan as well.
Player 55328 cheered. X2000. Rucha's heart.
Thank you so much, player. Thank you, Kenny, for such a big cheer. Thank you.
Great. Let's go. Let's kill that hype train, guys.
Let's go. Let's go.
Okay, so he went with this idea with a4, knight c4, and knight a5. So I started to play a very interesting idea. I realized that if I can trade all the pieces, a lot of pieces, like most of the minor pieces, there's a weak pawn on b4, first of all, and second of all, I got the good control over the only open file in the position, which is the c file.
Yeah, so that c7 pawn is a backward pawn, right? Right now.
Yeah, c7 is also a backward pawn, which actually didn't remain on the board, so I
20 underscore fast strike underscore 20
I just traded the knights, offered to trade off the bishops and the queens, also attacking this pawn. So he went here, and in this position, I decided to go for the ending. I see all that right from here with the idea to play knight c4.
Okay. So now, first of all, we traded one knight, and now we are offering trade-off even more minor pieces.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to trade the light squared bishops, trade the knight with the dark squared bishop, and then try to use the c file and also the weakness on b4.
So this is also a good topic about pawn structure, we can say. So you're playing completely on the idea that b4 and even c7, we can say, pawns are potential weakness. So your whole idea revolves around this factor. So you want to go into the endgame and then play against b4 pawn. So this is also a nice idea on pawn structures.
Sure. So my opponent here decided to trade everything, and it was exactly the line that I was hoping for. I just traded everything and went into this ending. So here, white is better because b4 pawn is weak, and I have the control over the only open file in the position. But with correct play, it should be a draw.
Okay.
Like if
I have to say, though, the bishop is a bad bishop for now, right? Because all the pawns are on dark squares.
Yeah, exactly. Like this bishop is a little bit bad, but the problem with black's position is that his rooks are not active and he has many weaknesses that I can attack. And actually, when I was trading all this,
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking that I can win a pawn, which I was right. So the line that I saw beforehand was rook c4, attacking the pawn.
Okay,
so he
rook
has
d8.
to defend.
Yeah.
This is forced. And then I go rook a1. So now my threat is to play rook c8. And
Okay, trade one pair and then come back again.
Exactly. Genius. G5 was played, which actually G5 is actually a move that I missed. I was thinking about king f8, h6, some more slow moves by my opponent, but he went g5, and I was a little bit shocked here. I kept going with my plan like this, but the thing is that here my opponent went with this line. He decided to put all these pawns on the light squares and sack these two pawns, like these two queenside pawns. He decided to sack. And
so he's playing against the bishop
versus bad bishop.
Yeah,
and
good knight
which is a
versus
scary
bad.
idea. So the game went a3, b3, d5. I took the pawn, but his rook got activated, and I managed to win this pawn as well.
Yeah,
and reached
you are also like Pac-Man mode. You also want to grab the pawns first, then see later what happens.
So this position, although I'm 2 pawns up, but it's so scary. I have to be honest with you. I was so scared during the game because this knight is just a monster and it has so many weak squares which he can attack. And his rook is also going to come into the 7th rank or the back rank and put some pressure. So
yeah,
I was really scared. I was thinking it's not as easy as it looks. I'm 2 pawns up, 2 connected pass pawns, but it's not as easy as it looks. Need to be very careful.
And we have to be careful because sometimes there can be some mating tricks, you know. If you're not careful, black can just get the king to g6, f5, e4, f3, and you can't really stop because it's all light squares.
Exactly. The bad thing about this is that if you're not careful, and black can utilize these light squares with the knight, with some maneuvers like that, or bring the king on and trying to squash my king. It's going to be very tough to handle. So the game actually went like this. I played king f1, rook c2, b4, rook b2, and here, of course, I'm trying to advance these pawns, get these pawns going, because I was thinking about rook b3 ideas here, but I think if I play rook b3, he can take and safely return his rook to a light square, and again, my bishop can't support that much in this.
Yeah, I think, is this works? I mean, rook b3, then rook a2, and if b5, maybe rook f2?
Rook f2 actually, is that what? It's interesting. Bishop f2, knight d2. Let me play that so the viewers can also see. So,
I don't know if it works though, if you're able to stop.
In the game, I didn't see that, to be honest, even if it works. But it's probably not working because, oh my
Bishop
god.
e1. Bishop e1, I guess.
Bishop e1, absolute genius idea.
And the knight cannot stop.
The knight from coming to a5, and now the b pawn is gonna run, and there's no way for black to stop it. But I was in the game. I was scared about rook a7, and after b6, rook b7, I was even scared that I'm going to lose this, because if black managed to slowly bring the king here and win this pawn somehow, then black is the only one with the winning chances.
Yes, then the knight will also maneuver nicely from d6 to c4, and also create one more attack on the pawn.
Exactly. So in the game, I decided not to go with this. I went with a4, tried to push the pawns. And in this position, I was scared. I was really scared. I'm having to pass pawns. But if I start advancing these pawns without paying attention to my opponent's ideas, he's going to play here, here, here. And my king is going to be in the mating net. If the king manages to get here while the knight defends the pawn on f7, he might at some point play f5, knight e4, and start creating some mating patterns.
Yeah, rook b1 and knight d2 is just mate. So
exactly. So you should be very careful. I was scared here. I was saying, dude, I'm going to lose this game really after outplaying my opponent positionally. Very good positional game, but I'm going to get mated. So I spent a lot of time in this position, and I came up with a very good idea, which actually Engine agrees with me for the first time in the world.
It should be other way around, right? You agree with the engine for the first time.
I just said, okay, I'm going to guard my back rank. I'm going to completely guard my back rank. And the good thing is that now we can see the concept of putting the rook behind the passed pawn. Very important. If I can put my rook behind this passed pawn, then I'm going to easily push it till the end.
Yeah, now it is very safe. So rook on first rank, and now black doesn't have so nasty threats anymore.
Exactly. So one line goes that if he takes and gains one pawn, I knew that this should be completely winning for me because I go rook a1, put the rook behind the passed pawn, and now his rook is going to be forced into a passive position.
And now you just improve the king here.
Yeah, and this is completely winning because I can just activate my king. Whenever my opponent tries to go here, I can always play rook a2 to guard my pawns here from any king invasion. So this should be completely winning, which is actually winning. I just activate my king, and using the extra pawn and the activity of my rook, I can win this game.
Yeah, so in such kind of positions, black can't hold. The only try for black is to, to sacrifice the rook and try to create a pass pawn on this side. But right now, white has a lot of pawns, and it's not so easy for black to create a pass pawn here. The king side, meanwhile.
So in this position, my opponent played king e7, tried to use his king to stop these pawns, but the rest is just easy. I just now that I don't have any threats against my king, I can activate my bishop. And now that the rook
I'm waiting for that bishop to activate because it is like completely constrained by the pawns.
Yeah, so he wanted to put his rook still behind the passed pawn, so he went rook b3, and now my king is active. I can just activate my king, and he played king b5. The thing is that after king c2, trying to trap the rook, he's going to play king c4. But here I played rook a1, and the thing is that I'm threatening to push the a pawn. And if he goes back to stop this, I just go king c2 and trap the rook.
Yeah, this is very beautiful trap. And here, black resigned, right? So now there is no way to continue here. So now a6 is coming, and after king a6, king c2. I really like this rook trap in the end.
Yeah, I also like that. That was a very neat game by me, I have to say.
Yes.
And in the end, there's actually a funny line, which only engine finds. I never even thought about that during the game. It's an engine line against knight g5. So one idea for black is to play knight g5. I have to play knight e4 afterwards, like this.
Okay, but still the pawn can't be stopped, right? You can still push.
The game I was planning to do this and
then give up rook.
Do this and then
that would be so unfortunate if you go king d3 there.
Yeah, that was mate, yeah, of course. But I was planning to go for this ending, which I knew it's winning because these pawns are just all over the place. There's no way with the king on b4, so far away from the pawns, black can have any fortress here. So I knew that this should be winning, which is actually winning. But the edging is a very funny line, which is interesting to show just for people to see. It says that go here, and after king c4, go bishop e2. Sack the pawn. Looks very silly, but if they take, I go bishop c3. And after rook b8, I check. And after king b5, I win the rook. Very tough. But,
nice line.
Of course, I didn't see that during the game. But I was planning to go to this kind of ending and convert. But my opponent was a nice guy. He didn't make me
resign. That's why he was a nice guy, yeah?
Yeah, of course.
So those who resign are the nice guys.
Yeah.
Okay, but this was nice finish, and I like king c2 rook trap in the end.
Exactly. I was also happy with this game. So enough of flexing the winning games. I'm going to show you some horrible games now. First of all, about the opening preparation, you saw two of the games where my opening prep went very well.
Yeah,
I managed
and it was completely two different directions, so two different approaches we saw.
But now I'm going to show you, first of all, quickly, just not all the games, very quickly, just going to show you what can happen when your opening prep went horribly wrong. So
okay, so on the other side of the board, yeah?
Exactly.
On the other side of the prep.
So 2 years ago, I had a game against a player rated 2000 FIDE. So he was an e4 player. I knew that. I was having the black pieces. And I was thinking I'm going to play for the win. So not going to go with the classical Caro-Kann approach. I saw that he's playing classical Caro, which sometimes leads to very drawish positions, and I really didn't want to go for that. So I decided to prep Sicilian for him. I decided to prepare Sicilian for him. I watched his games. He was playing Smith-Morra Gambit against Sicilian. And I decided to, in the one day that I have, go and read Smith-Morra, learn about it. And I was completely prepared for that. I came very confident to the board and played c5, thinking that I'm shocking my opponent and he's going to have a lot of problems facing all my prep here. But suddenly played knight c3 and I didn't know what to do. I know something, I know a little bit, but not enough. And after
so this is the closed Sicilian. So, you know, guys, you have to know the difference between the closed Sicilian and open Sicilian. So easy way to remember is that the closed Sicilian are all the structures in Sicilian where white does not play d4 at all. So white, white plays d3 and tries to play f4 and these stuff. So this is the closed Sicilian. And whenever white is trying to play d4, that is all the open Sicilian, like knight f3 d4 or even c3 d4, which is the Alapin. So all the d4 is open Sicilian, all without d4 is the closed Sicilian.
Good point, exactly. So in the game, in this line, the critical approach for black is to play knight d4. But of course, I wasn't expecting to play closed Sicilian, and I was completely shocked during the game. So I decided to play something solid, which is usually not good against this line. I played e6, took, and I'm just going to play some moves that happen in the game. We reached in this position, which is already much better for white.
Yes.
White is having plus 1.4 or something. Like, I'm positionally very bad in this position.
Yeah, so in this position, you know, what do you think is the best plan for white, guys? So right now, you know, black has double pawns, and how should white continue here? This is a very strategic plan that we must know if we are playing this kind of structures, and how to think in this position. This is a very cool idea for white. And you also have to think a little bit long term here. Queen e1, queen h4, okay, that's an idea. Yeah, queen e1, queen h4 is useful to generate an attack on the king side. But other than that, right now it's not so easy to generate attack here. Bishop a3, knight a4, yeah, that's a good idea. And the most important idea in this structure, in this closed Sicilian, is to play against these double pawns on c6 and c5. And one of the most important idea is to stop them from going to c4 and exchange. If black is able to get this idea, then black is completely fine because black is exchanging these pawns and there is no problem at all. So the main idea for white is to play knight a4 and followed by c4 and completely fix these pawns on c5 and c6, and then to increase the pressure with bishop a3 and so on. So knight a4 and c4, and the end game is completely winning for white. So then you just have to trade the pieces, and then those c5 and c6 will be a problem for black for a very long time, and then you can play against it.
Yeah, exactly. Great point. This also happens in so many structures of the Nimzo Indian, where black can carry out this plan. Like d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, bishop b4. In some lines, like for instance, the same-ish variation of the Nimzo, black can take the knight and try to go with knight c6, knight a5, bishop a6 ideas to attack the weak pawn there. So this is roughly the same idea. This was like the position that I got out of the opening. Very horrible position. Like it's a bad version of the Nimzo. I have a very bad bishop on g7. My opponent has good grip on the center as well. So, and at some point, if I play c4, this bishop is going to be died behind its own pawns, which is also a big problem. So I actually, in this game, I created some chances with f6 in the future, but in the end, I lost the game. I had my moments, but in the end, I lost the game. So that's it. These are CFC ratings, Doctor. In this one, it's CFC one. Next game is going to be FIDE. So we're going to get there soon.
Next game is coming up.
So next game is going to come up, but I'm going to show you another prep that went horribly wrong.
So this one is the one with these names, right? The opponent, Sean. Is this the game?
No. Sean is the game that went into Catalan and I won. I'm just showing two quick games.
Okay. You put the lines in the same chapter. Okay.
And then, yeah.
All right.
So this one, I played in Nimzo against an opponent. It was a 2200 rated opponent. And I won a very nice game in the previous round with my preps in that tournament. So I was trying to make that work against this guy as well. I was trying to prep something powerful and get an advantage out of the opening with black. So here after e3, I usually play bishop e7, but in this game I prepped the more sharp line with knight e4. Okay. And the idea here is to take that, play bishop e7, and then f5. So in this line, black has some aggressive ideas to play rook f6, rook g6, maybe put some pressure on the pawn on g2. And at some point, maybe if the knight moves, there's queen h4 ideas. Black is going with a very aggressive approach in this one. So
here in this one, you're playing black side, right? You're playing with the name side.
Yes, okay. I'm playing black. I need to hide the name somehow. It's not for this game anymore. But yeah, I'm playing black. And I analyzed before the game the move a4, bishop a3, knight e2, and knight e1. And I saw very amazing lines in all of them. I was like, I'm going to crush my opponent. I was very optimistic going to that game. But the problem was that I was using something, some book which was outdated. The book was like from 2009. Okay. And there was an idea for white in this line, which was introduced first in 2011. So it wasn't covered in my book, in my file. So
2009 is also already, out of date, yeah? The preparation from 2009.
Yeah, and I was completely out of prep here, and my opponent was still knowing what they're doing. And in the game, I was trying to shift that towards my preparations, and I played d6, cd6, cd6.
Wow, this is actually a nice example, So guys, like Koosha prepped for his game, but he prepped from a book which was from 2009, and he did not update it, and his opponent had an updated, preparation, and he just outplayed him. He just found a better idea.
That was my most horrible loss in my recent history, I have to say. So this is the same position, but the difference is that the pawns on c4 and c7 are not present. That's the only thing.
It doesn't seem like a big deal for now, right? It doesn't seem like such a big deal for now.
I said, okay, I just traded 2 pawns, which doesn't have enough influence on my attacks on the king's side. So I still can play these tactical ideas against my opponent probably. But I was wrong. I was horribly wrong. For example, the game went here.
Yeah, now once we play some moves, we will understand why this is such a big difference.
Yeah, so here I realized that if I keep going with my plan, rook f6, they can play bishop a3. And after rook h6, they can take. Now that this one is not present,
this is the whole idea.
The bishop can defend the king's side and win my pawn. And I was like, now what am I supposed to do? So I decided to go d5. But after bishop a3...
Once again, the bishop controls from d6.
I can't play rook f6 because there's bishop e7. And I was completely demoralized here at that point. And the game just finished very quickly. I don't want to emphasize on that game, but it finished just very quickly. And white just break through the center. My pieces are uncoordinated. I did some dubious moves in the rest of the game, and my opponent just opened up the position, and now my king is just totally weak. And he converted in style, and here I resigned.
Yeah, so the c7 pawn was doing a great job of controlling d6 and stopping the bishop. So how did you improve upon this? So did you actually check what is the best way to play for black after c5?
The best play for black is actually to take the pawn, I believe.
Like to grab the pawn 2 times?
To grab the pawn, usually white plays here, black plays here, and after bishop a3, black plays a move like d6, and the game goes on.
And to be very stubborn and just save that pawn?
Yeah, exactly. No, not usually. Sometimes, you save the pawn, but you will have a double pawns here, I think. I haven't studied that line that much because I didn't get to play knight e4 again in any other tournaments. So for now, I'm not that familiar with this line, but
Okay,
if I
but
want
now
to
at
play
least
it,
we know that this c5 is an important idea for white, and then we have to look out for bishop d6 when it happens.
exactly.
Okay, so that's an idea that we have to remember, and then once we know this, at least then even if we are in the game, even if we have not analyzed this, we know which direction to look out for.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So enough of opening prep, I guess. I think we discussed about opening preps where they can go horribly wrong sometimes. They
Yes.
can be very helpful for you to win the games, but you should be very careful going into a new territory, which you don't know what's going to happen next. So, what are
Yeah.
your thoughts on that? How we can conclude this part?
Yeah, actually, this was a pretty interesting section, and completely different ideas. And it's good to know that even after we play like thousands of games, there is still option. There is like still, I can say, a way that you can surprise your opponents, or you can get surprised. So you have to look out for that. And at this level, it's very important to stay up to date, to see what's going on, what is going on at top level, and be updated with your opening prep.
Exactly.
But it's like interesting that one idea can be also applicable to another lines. So it's good to even know the ideas. Like once you know that this idea exists, you can be careful with other structures as well when this can happen. So it's like openings are like knowledge which is very helpful, and you learn a lot when you are learning openings.
Great point.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we should punish ourselves a bit more. Like I saw 2 games that I won. Now I'm going to show you guys 2 of my most stupid mistakes that I've ever made.
Actually, Koosha has named this section as My Stupid Mistakes Part 1 and My Stupid Mistakes Part 2. Okay, we are very curious now.
Yeah, so I'm going to skim through that game very quickly. I don't want to emphasize on the opening that much. So it's a game I'm playing against a very strong FIDE master.
Stupid mistakes, let's go.
And he started the game with e4. I played my Caro Khan. If you watch enough of my streams, you know that I'm a Caro fan. And we went into the 2 knights variation, very solid position for both sides. We made some mistakes throughout, some small mistakes, but the evaluation was very close to equal throughout the game. I'm just going to skim through the game very quickly.
Okay, so we are going first to reach that position which we want to discuss.
Yeah, because we don't have enough time. So we just traded most pieces. We slowly, surely went into the ending. Okay. It was an equalish game throughout. So we didn't have like completely winning position any of the sides. And we traded everything. We are slowly going.
And all the games that you have selected today are on the board, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Over the board. And classical games. So a lot of time to think and no dirty flagging at all.
So you actually played through this and reached this ending. So it's literally rook in 3 versus rook in 3.
Yeah, it's 3 versus 3 pawns. Has to be drawish. That's the first thing we are thinking right now.
Yeah. So I was also thinking the same. At this point, I have to say that I was thinking that, okay, this game is over. I have to... the mistake that I made here was the mindset that I had. I said, okay, I draw this. That's fine. And I was saying that there's no way I can lose this. So I started to play recklessly. I started to not pay attention and playing fast moves without even thinking. Just saying that, okay, this is a draw. Why are we playing?
Yeah. This is the same thing happened in one of my last lecture streams that I had invited GM Swapnil, and he was also discussing something like this, like mistakes. And he said that, he also was relaxing, and he said, okay, let me think what I should have for dinner. And the game is already, equal, pretty drawish. And then it also changed drastically like that.
I was already thinking about the next round, who I'm going to face, what I'm going to play against. Also, I was thinking about my university assignments. I was thinking, okay, this game is draw. Come on. There's zero chance that I can lose this. So we played a couple of moves. Let me just quickly skim through them. We just played like shuffling the rooks. I advanced my pawn. And this position is the first mistake that I'm making. First practical mistake that I'm making.
Okay.
So here, there's a very easy way for black to draw this game instantly, and it's to play rook to a2. If black plays rook a2,
so now the king can't move.
The king can't move. If white moves the king, I always take this, and after this, of course.
Okay, now it's 2 versus 2, and much easier to draw.
This one, there is zero chance really I lose, but still we need to be careful. But I was saying, okay, let's just activate my king. I wasn't thinking even. I had like 15 minutes and I wasn't thinking. So I activated my king c4, rook a2. And now the problem is that he can't play this b4 move and guards the pawn structure on this side of the board.
Okay, so now slowly the king is going to approach, and maybe are we going to see 3 versus 2 now?
Exactly. So now the pawn on d2 is lost. Now goes here, maneuvers a little bit just to force my king back one step, and then he brings the rook here, and he wins the pawn.
Okay.
So the thing is that if I don't play d1, he's going to play king d1 first, and when the rook is deflected, he's going to take my pawn. So he managed to win this. We reached this ending now. Now, although I lost the pawn, still it's a draw. Still, there's no way I can lose this because it's 3 versus 2 usually draw in these kinds of rook endings. And if you just stay firm, just don't do anything silly, you're going to draw this for sure.
Yeah, 3 versus 2 is much easier to draw than 4 versus 3. And if you're playing such rook end games where the pawns are all on the one wing, remember one rule that, the lesser the pawn, the more the drawing chances. So if you're playing from the defensive side like this, if you have one pawn less, try to exchange some of the pawns and it will increase your drawing chances. So if there are, let's say, 5 versus 4, winning chances are more. If it's 4 versus 3, then it goes like that.
Exactly. So in the game, my opponent slowly maneuvered, tried to improve his position. And I was like, what are you doing? It's a draw. I just kept playing this game with this mindset without very recklessly, without even thinking that my opponent has a chance. I said, okay, I'm going to keep checking you.
Yes. So that's why white is, okay, finally b5 is played.
Yeah, finally he realized that he can't do anything more. He played b5, I took, and I put my king on b8. The thing is that if he trades one pair of pawn again, it's going to be a draw. And I'm starting to checks from behind, so you can't do anything else.
If the one pawn is left, the strategy to make a draw in this position is keep the rook behind and then try to give checks. And this is called as the Philidor's draw position.
Exactly. So my opponent didn't went for that.
Actually, if I have to be more technical, I should state that if the pawns are exchanged, first you keep the rook on the 6th rank and let the pawn advance, and then they go back to the 1st rank. So that you don't let the king
with the knight spawn.
With the knight spawn.
Or the rook spawn, which are the only 2 pawns left in position. Back rank defense also holds. Like if you put the rook on the back rank against it's not working against these 4 pawns, but against pawn and g8 pawn, just putting the rook on the back rank completely holds the game.
Yes.
When opponent has 1 pawn. So in the game, again, my opponent was finally pushing b6, and we reached.
So you know this whole idea, like back rank defense work, but you're still going on the other side.
I knew everything. I didn't have any theoretical problems. And here in this position, what do you think black should do to draw the game?
Okay, how should black draw now?
It's already a little bit difficult because I misplayed a little bit in some parts. So he has some chances, but still, if I'm careful, it's going to be a draw quite easily.
Rook end games are always pretty tricky. And white's king is much advanced here. So how can we try to save this?
Any ideas in the chats? Or we should talk?
The way I see you're wearing a chess bra hoodie,
Yeah,
right?
I actually got that from them. I'm also in Canada, so
You're
in Canada,
becoming
people
more
love chess.
Canadian day by day. Now you also have Canadian rating.
Yeah, you're getting more Canadian, I have to say.
Yeah. White could win. Okay, but
So what
here, black has a chance to hold this position right now.
exactly? And I knew that. I knew that this is a draw. The thing here is that if black plays rook to g8 and just keep the rook and the king in the back rank, it's going to be an easy draw.
Yeah, there is
So
no way to
first
make
of all-
progress for white after that.
First of
So-
all, there are two ways for white to make progress. If you keep the king on a8 and b8 and keep the rook on the back rank, one idea is to put the king here and play a6, which is a draw because it's the knight spawn and the back rank defense is going to work. You just put the king on a8 and move the rook on the 8th rank, and it's going to be a draw. And the other idea is to try and trade the rooks. But the thing is that even if the rooks are traded, like imagine here, 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 and takes.
And you can just, okay, you can play king d7, but let's say you just go into the corner.
Yeah, this is also a draw. This is also a draw because.
And then you play king d7, king b8. And let's say, okay, not here. Let's say, let's wait one move, king d8. And a6, and here you have to be very careful, a6. If you take it, you're losing the pawn endgame because of king c7 and then you queen and there is no stalemate. So you have to just play king b8 once again, and this is how you make a draw because this is a fortress. And now a7 and then king a8, and then this is a stalemate situation. And next move it's gonna be a draw. So the pawn endgame, even though white has an extra pawn, is still a draw here.
I agree. So I knew that this is a draw. And there's also a funny thing. If, for instance, imagine playing like this. For example, playing a6 here and king b8. Here, the funny thing is that if white goes king d8, white loses after ba6. Very funny.
Yeah.
I saw this happening in one game before this game. I knew that I might even win this game if he's not. Of course, he's going to see that in a long game. But the funny thing is that even after
now the black pawn just
white
marches forward and there is no way to stop it.
Yeah.
Yes. And you know, I can draw something like this. If you want to calculate if the king can stop the pawn or not, there is a way to calculate very easily, and that is to draw a square like this. And the rule is that if the white king gets inside the square, then the king stops the pawn. And if the white king cannot reach it, then the pawn promotes.
Exactly. So in the game, the mistake I made, instead of playing rook j, which I knew was a draw, I was saying with myself, okay, I'm tired of this game. I want to finish the game fast. That's the horrible mindset that I had during this game. I said that I'm tired. If I want to go here, I mean, I have to wait for 50 more moves when he shuffles, and then he plays a6, and then he's going to shuffle for more 50 moves, and I'm tired of this, so I'm not going to go for that. That's the way I played chess in this game. So I saw this line. I played rook g1, and I was thinking about check here and rook b8. And I said that after this, I'm going to give a check, king c4, rook a5. And after he takes, I'm going to go king c6, and this is going to be forced draw. So I was saying that, okay, with this idea, with rook g1, I was thinking that I'm an absolute genius. I was saying that after rook g1, if he checks and goes for this pawn, I have check
then you
and
get the
taking
a5 pawn back. Yeah.
And if he doesn't give me a check, I'm going to start checking him. And there's no way he can stop my checks. And anytime he sticks a rook in between, I'm going to take.
You can just straight and then pawn endgame is draw, as we just saw.
Exactly. So I was thinking I'm such a genius. I made the move of the year with rook g1. And
move of the year. That is definitely move of the year.
I confidently picked my king and put it on d7, and suddenly played a6. It was like.
And it was GG after a6.
That was already GG. I missed a6.
A6, and now there is no way to stop the pawn from promotion. Exactly. So what can black do here? Yeah, that was
And
very painful. That was very painful.
the game I took, he played b7. I gave a couple of checks, and this position I had to resign.
And that pawn is actually, a curse because you can't give a check. And the
Yeah.
king can easily hide behind there.
Even if you can give a check, I think it's losing because there's a very famous chain
Yeah,
opposition where
listen
you
opposition.
you put the king on b8 and bring the rook here, use the bridging technique to win the game. But this one was even more easier. It didn't need to show that. The pawn is just winning next move.
Yeah.
That's GG.
A6 was, like a complete shock. You must be very much shocked during the game.
Of course. And the worst thing was that this game is played during the Iranian Super League. So the thing was that the match between the two teams was 2-2. The match between the two teams was 2-2. And by losing that, I made my team to lose.
Oh no. That is more painful. That's more painful.
Very mad at myself. If it was an individual game, I could have get away with that more easier. But
yeah, it is too tough if you are, if your team is dependent on you like that.
Yeah.
But okay.
I was the villain that day.
I don't want to hurt you anymore. Let's go get over with it.
So the next game I want to show you as my stupid mistake is that is this position. So this was another game against another FIDE master, very strong player also. And I defended very well in this game. He put me under so much pressure from the opening. And I had a worse position throughout the game, but I managed to hold and I suddenly reached this position with the black pieces and it's completely drawn.
Okay.
The thing is that...
Have you seen this book? Have you seen this book?
Which book?
This.
Let me see. I don't see you. Just a second.
There.
Oh, Tragic Comedy. Of course I saw that.
You have seen this? Yeah. Your game should be, in this one.
Both of your games should be in that, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Tragic Comedy is in the end game. So this is definitely something like that.
Exactly. So in this game, my opponent was shuffling around, but I was just keeping my rook in the d file. And the thing is that the king cannot march here. The pawns are completely blocked by the king on e7. And if I just keep shuffling the rook on the d file, there's no way that I can do anything. Exactly. So
okay, so you can't even play bishop d3 because then e6 falls.
Yeah, exactly. And if bishop d5, the king can't join the action. So I just can't move the king if I keep shuffling the rooks here.
Yeah.
So in the game, I don't know what I thought for 1 second. Like, it was a brain fart. It was just a brain fart after playing for like more than 4 hours. I also had time here, I have to say. And for some moment, I said, okay, let's just not let him to play for 50 more moves. Let's just start giving some checks and force the draw very quickly.
Okay.
And once I put
so
the
lesson learned the hard way, yes? Now next time you just play for 50 move rule now. If you're playing for defense.
I should do that.
Just play for 1 hour more and take that half point home.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
worth it.
So, here, my opponent played king d5 and I was suddenly seeing that the king is coming in and winning all these pawns. I was shocked. And although after waiting and taking these pawns, the game is still a draw, but it's so hard to draw this.
Yeah, this is tough practically, right? So some games are, in theory they are draw, but it's so much difficult to prove it on the board. For example, rook plus bishop versus rook, like it's a draw, but if you put yourself in a tournament situation, it's very tough to hold it. Or okay, rook plus knight versus rook as well, but rook plus bishop versus rook is much more difficult to defend.
Rook plus bishop versus rook is so hard, actually. Especially in a blitz game. In classical, most of the time it's a draw in top level, but in blitz, I think it's even more probable that you lose, even if you know the theory. It's so hard.
Yeah, it happened to me once that I was playing on the board game, and I was playing a 2600 player, and I was so happy that I almost made a draw, and then I reached rook plus bishop versus rook, and then I lost. It was so bad. It was terrible.
I never had rook and bishop versus rook in my classical games, but in blitz I had it 4 times, and all the 4 times, 3 times I was playing with the bishop, and 3 times I was playing against the bishop, and in all these 4 times, the stronger side managed to win in a blitz game.
Yeah.
So it's so hard to defend because the guy is just going to shuffle around, and at some point you're going to make a blunder when you don't have time.
Yeah, knight
in
is a
blitz.
little bit easier to defend.
Of
So
course, knight. I also had a knight twice, and both cases in blitz. Again, the winner was the play with a knight.
mhm.
In blitz, it's so hard, I have to say.
Yeah.
Still, but it's easier. I mean, it's possible to do that. But with 1 second increment, 2 second increment, it's hard, I have to say.
Yeah, bishop is the most tough to hold.
Of course. So this game I managed to lose. I don't want to show the rest of the game. I made some mistakes afterwards, but I was so mad with myself after going from such an easy draw to this position.
Yeah.
And I managed to lose this position, which is not easy anymore because
But okay, you learned the
also
lesson now.
because
Don't
also
go
the
for
bishop
shortcuts
is,
in endgame.
yeah, bishop is also controlling the square of promotion.
But that's very important,
But,
right? Because if it was wrong color, you can just sacrifice the rook for the b pawn here. Let's say if the
exactly.
bishop was, not here, but here, let's say, if the bishop was standing on b6, you can just sacrifice the rook for the b pawn,
Back
give
to
up
rook
this for
e3,
this,
rook e3, rook e4,
and then just run the king to a8, and then that's a draw because rook's pawn and the bishop is wrong color.
Yeah, makes sense. So that's it. I think to show you two of my most stupid mistakes that I've ever made. I hope you guys enjoyed that.
I think everybody did enjoy. It's always
Yeah, so the takeaways from that, I think, is that during a game, it's not over until it's over. That's the title that I put here for the study.
yeah.
Because if you think that the game is over, you should just you start thinking about what to have for dinner. There's always some positions where
Then you will not have
your
your
opponent
dinner. You will be so mad.
Yeah, exactly. And I was actually talking with my opponent in this game where I'm showing you this FIDE master who beat me in this position. And he told me before the stream, I told him that I'm going to show this game in the stream. He told me that tell people about the games that I won, like this position. See, this FIDE master in Iran is famous for winning such kind of positions, actually. He just keeps shuffling pieces, and suddenly he shuffles so much that opponent makes a mistake suddenly and he wins.
Yeah.
And he actually has a big accomplishment that he once won a game in rook and bishop versus rook with only having a rook. That's just insane.
What? Oh.
The thing was that his opponent was playing for the win, and he blundered the rook just by skewer. In a blitz game. It was a blitz game, I have to say.
Okay.
In a blitz, the opponent blundered his rook by a skewer, and he kept playing rook versus bishop for a long time, and he managed to outplay his opponent. So that's
okay.
One of the
Blitz
biggest...
is okay. You can make blunders like that. You can drop a piece with skewer, but even after dropping the rook, you can still try to hold it. Rook versus bishop. But okay, your task is much difficult.
But mentally, you're also down. Like when you blunder a rook, you're mentally losing because you already had rook and bishop and you blundered rook. So it's harder even mentally to defend such a position for a long time. But it makes sense that the guy lost.
Yeah, also depends on what the position is, because not all positions are easy to play, even rook versus bishop. And you have to go to the correct corner in that as well.
Yeah, his opponent went to the correct corner actually, but he couldn't draw in the end.
Okay.
2 second increment, it's hard, I have to say.
Yeah.
Maybe I also miss sometimes.
The most difficult endgame I find is actually queen versus rook. And it's not so easy to win. Have you ever tried practice that endgame?
I still don't know how to win that, to be honest. Like against normal people, whenever it appeared for me on the board, I managed to win. But when I played against the engine,
yeah, exactly. The same thing happens with me. I have studied the theory part, like Dobritsky's books and everything. But when I play engine rated 3000, I'm not able to win against the engine.
Me too.
So with people, okay, maybe in tournament game, maybe I will, try to get some tricks. But engine, I'm not able to defeat so far.
Because the engine offers the most tenacious defense, and when engine does such kind of defense, you also need to be perfect Against the
Yeah.
human, you also make some mistakes, makes the life easier for you. But against the engine, it's always very hard to
Mhm.
win. And I can't do that. To be honest, I should work on that.
Yeah, I was, struggling with that against an engine. So I asked you if you have worked with that at all.
No, I tried that and I failed. But in all the games that happened for me over the board, I managed to win. But
Mhm.
against the engine, no. Against the engine, it's
Yeah, that is
very
the
hard.
end game that I am still not defeated engine with.
Yeah, I
Okay.
should try to do that.
Yeah. Okay, so shall we go to next?
Yeah, sure. I'm ready.
Okay, so what
So
is the next part?
the next part, I'm going to talk about two of the toughest positions that I've ever faced in an OTB game,
Mm-hmm.
which made me think more than half an hour.
Okay.
So here, I'm going to bring up the discussion, first of all, that how do you manage your time during a classical game where you have 90 plus 30? We can also talk about blitz and bullet
Mm-hmm.
online because many people play here. We can
Yes.
already discuss a little bit about time management here, I think. What is your
Actually, very
strategy?
important topic we are talking about.
Yeah.
Because a lot of players get easily under time pressure and they don't know what to do with that, because even if you are playing, let's say, a longer time control game with 15 minutes, with 10 minutes, or even 30 minutes, you end up spending a lot of time and then get into time pressure. So this is a very common topic that everybody faces, and there is something to work on it, isn't it? And what do
Yeah,
you
of course.
think? How should we overcome that?
So I just want to first ask you, what is your strategy usually for time management in different time controls?
Okay, so before that, I also want to talk about time, time pressure, and I have been on that side myself. So, I have faced, even in classical games, even if I'm playing 90-minute games, I have faced myself a lot of times under time pressure, and there are, of course, various factors. But one of the most important factor I have to say is about confidence, and especially if you're playing classical games, it matters a lot, because if you're doing bad right now, or if you're feeling less confident, you spend a lot of time on doubting yourself or rechecking your lines again and again. So even if you look at one line, you try to think again and again about it, and you end up spending a lot of time. So this is one factor. So another factor is also about knowing what you're playing. So if you have spent enough time on learning the opening theory, you will save a lot of time in the beginning of the game. So
Yeah,
learning opening and having some ideas about the middle games can be a good idea to save time in the beginning. So this is important. And also the third thing is calculation, I think. And I would highly recommend that solve a lot of tactics every day, so that you are in form and your mind is working fast when you're playing, and the tactics can be a good solution for that, solving a lot of tactics.
of course. So in this part of the stream, first of all, I also want to talk a little bit about my time management in my tournaments. So I think I'm pretty good with time management in classical chess. I think this is one of my biggest strengths.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm wrong, but personally, I think like that. My strategy for time management in classical chess is usually to play the opening quite fast. Like
Mm-hmm.
if I'm 100% sure about the move and my plan, I will play it quickly.
Yeah, so you
Uh,
also spend a lot of time on learning theory, right? And preparing against specific opponents.
of course, but if
Yeah.
I'm not prepared, if the position is new, if my opponent shocks me, of course, I will start thinking to find the best way.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, I think there are some normal positions where, like, you are trying to castle or trying to bring the rooks to the middle, like the positions that doesn't require any calculation, and you can already play a move without making any calculations and just using your intuition to play that move. Or there are some typical plans of the opening that you play, which you are familiar with, and you just know that this move has to be played in this setup. Like,
Mm-hmm.
for example, you're playing a Carlsbad structure and you know that the minority attack is the main theme here. And
Yes.
just usually, personally, I spend like 2 minutes just to double check whether there's not a tactical problem with that or something special, that any tactic that I have here to win a pawn, for example, very quickly. But I don't spend more.
Yes.
And there are some positions where I call them critical positions, where, for example, you want to simplify into an ending, or you want to change your pawn structure.
Yes.
In these positions, I will think usually 5 to 10 minutes during a classical game.
Okay.
So I usually try not to think more than 10 minutes on a move most of the time. I will try my best because I don't want to get into time pressure and have to make like 20 moves in less than 1 minute, which is
it also
usually...
comes with experience. So once you play a lot of games, you understand how well you do in time pressure or not. Okay, some players, they are able to manage it, but for other players it's just too difficult and you will end up making a lot of mistakes. So it is also about gaining experience, play a lot of games, understand how you do, and then try to manage it from the very beginning.
Sure. And for Blitz, I have to say, so many people ask me that because usually you see me play Blitz a lot on stream, and I'm like high rated, I'm 2700. So many people ask me that, how do you manage your time in a Blitz game? And I am like, it depends. If it's 3+0, I usually focus on playing fast, and I don't usually calculate that much. If I see a dubious line which requires a lot of calculation, but I have a safe line to go with, I usually pick up a safe line in a 3+0 game. But in 3+2 with increment, I think it's more important to have a good position rather than edge on the clock. Like with 3+0, if you have a -2 position, but you have 1.5 minutes more on the clock, you are the favorite to win. But in 3+2 or 3+1, I think if you have a bad position and if you have even a 2-minute advantage, it's not going to be good for you, because
3+0 and 3+2 are completely different, right? So with increment and without increment are completely different.
Of course.
So Ismir asked us something. So he says, I'm always in time trouble. I feel like problems for me usually arrive when it's still early in the game and I struggle to determine where the positional advantage is.
Exactly. So for those, I think when you study your openings, it's always good to not memorize the mere lines without understanding the ideas. If you just memorize the openings, of course, at some point you arrive at a position where you're out of the book. When you arrive at such kind of position, you need to study the ideas behind the opening.
Exactly. That's a very good point, isn't it? Because especially when you're learning new opening, don't just try to learn the moves, but try to understand the middle game plans. So anytime you're learning any new opening, try not just to learn, first 10 moves, but understand what is your next plan. As you said before, if you're playing Carlsbad, you know that this is minority attack on the queen side is the main strategy. So every opening that you play, you should have some ideas what you want to do in the middle game, and that will save you time. At least you get a direction what you have to think about, and then you will be able to save a lot of time there.
Yeah, of course. So I think for understanding the main ideas of the openings, I can recommend people to see a lot of games from top players that is played on that specific openings.
Yes.
And I think
because,
for example, if you see 10 games in a structure you're playing, you're going to be familiar with 10 different ideas that 10 top players have played. And during the game, you can think and decide which one is more suitable for this strategy that your opponent plays against you. So I think watching a lot of games is the best way for that.
That's a good idea. So if you're a professional players use the software called as ChessBase to sort out different games. But if you are still new, if you don't have it, you don't have to buy it. You can still use other websites. Even Lichess has a feature in which in study you can use the option called as opening book, and there you will get the games and it will show you reference games. You can try it out.
Of course. Opening book is a very good
useful
feature on Lichess, and to check the games in a specific opening if you want to. You can also, aside Masters games which are played over the board, you can also see the games of top Lichess players. Like sometimes blitz games between two GMs can also be instructive because they usually played the more intuitive ideas during that blitz games. I sometimes use them to get some ideas. Even in the blitz games that is played between top players, and you can also see how frequent are some mistakes in the openings in top level. And if you see that the mistake is frequent, even in blitz games, there is a possibility that you might face that mistake in your over the board game as well.
Yes. Farah says Leech's opening book is money in the bank.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a free feature, so why not use it, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but it's useful to go through the games, because if you are in a critical position, I will say that it's not possible at all to find the best move in the critical position if you're playing, with rapid time control or blitz time control. Let's say if you're in the main line of the Catalan, it is almost impossible to find the main moves from there if you have no idea what you're doing. So it's good to have some ideas when you're playing a new opening.
Yeah, of course. Completely agree with your point. So I'm going to show you two games now where I faced two very tough positions, which made me think more than half an hour. So like in a game, you have 90 minutes, but these positions made me think like half of my entire time, because they were so tough that I couldn't figure it out without thinking that much.
Okay.
So these are the positions that are GM killers. I mean, even if a super GM thinks about that, they're gonna suffer. It's not even easy for super grandmasters to find the moves. I'm gonna show you the games.
Okay.
So this is the first one. I started with b4. I'm gonna skim through the game, and I played an Azerbaijani player, so he didn't know that I'm playing b4. So I decided to shock him the last round. It was back in the days where I was 2000 rated. I was I wasn't at my current rating, but so I'm gonna quickly skim through the game, just some important points. So this is the first interesting part that I'm gonna show you in the game. So this is a structure which is called the Stonewall structure, very typical, very popular among all the levels.
You can use it with both sides, right? You can use it with white or with black.
You can play it with white. You can play it against every opening. Every d4 based opening, actually, you can play the Stonewall, because against e4 it's usually not working, but against d4, knight f3, c4, against any of them, you can always play this structure.
Yeah, this structure is the Stonewall.
Yeah, but the downside of this structure is that the square on e5 and generally the dark squares are getting weak. So one very typical plan here for white is to try and trade this strong dark squared bishop. If a white can trade this bishop, white is going to have a very good grip on the dark squares.
Yeah.
So it's always a great idea for white or black on the other side of the Stonewall to trade
even in the direct Stonewall, one of the main ideas for white is to, before playing e3, to play bishop f4 and then trade the bishops on d6. When white doesn't even mind if his pawns get doubled.
Yeah, of course, there are some lines where white plays bishop f4 and even don't take the bishop. They just play e3, g3, guard the bishop, try to get a grip on this square. And there are also some lines where I think knight e1, knight e3 ideas are played in order to support the bishop to f4. I'm not playing these lines, so I'm not quite familiar with, but these are some typical ideas to play against the Stonewall to get a grip on this e5 square, which is very important. So in the game, I decided to go with the exact same strategy, and I managed to trade this bishop, and already I'm better. I'm better because his dark squares are weak, and he's a little bit overextended on the king side. So I'm not going to emphasize on the rest of the game that much because the time is not enough, I guess. But I managed to maneuver around, get a good grip on the dark squares, and open up the f file, stick a rook there, and suddenly I got a protected pass pawn.
Okay.
I'm much better here. I'm trying to win. He was low on time, under so much pressure. I just decided to activate my king as well. Played a very good game. To be honest, I played a very good game.
Again, it's like good knight versus bad bishop, right? Right now.
Yeah, exactly. The problem is that my knight doesn't have enough squares. Like if my knight was here, it was fascinating. But unfortunately, the knight doesn't have any squares. So I was trying to work on these weaknesses on c7, d5, h5, or maybe at some point Wow, I got a huge rate from Twitch. Let's go. Thank you so much.
Welcome, Raiders.
Let's give a big shout out to Twitch. Let's go. Thank you so much for the raid. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the raid. We are having an instructive collaboration with Women International Master Rucha Pujari.
Hello, everyone. And thank you,
Thank you
Davina.
so much, Davina, for the raid. Guys, make sure to check out Rucha's channel as well. We are trying to have an instructive collab. I'm trying to show some of my games, and we're discussing some important aspects of the chess game with each other. So thank you so much, Davina, again for the raid. Hopefully catch up your future streams. Okay, sorry guys for the interruption.
No, that's good. So b6 is played. And okay, queen 8. And we are working on the square for the knight somewhere.
Yeah, so in this point where we went queen f2, I decided to go in with my king. So here my king is going all in. I'm trying to go king g5, and I'm simply trying to checkmate him in the dark squares because his bishop can't actually do anything on the dark squares. So in the game, my opponent had 1 second, like he was playing on increment, and he suddenly played g3. And in this point, I had, to be honest, I had how many seconds? I had 45 minutes, to be honest. I had 45 minutes on the clock.
Okay, so a lot of time.
Of course. But my opponent was like having 1 second. Okay. So in this position, it was a very tough position. I started to think, I was thinking about king g5 ideas, maybe to sack the pawn and go and mate my opponent. I was thinking about big g3.
G3 is a very critical move, right? So now black is trying some tricks here.
Exactly. I knew I should be winning somehow, but here I was thinking about takes here, maybe some king h3 ideas, maybe h3 ideas, maybe king g5 going for the mate. And it's a very critical position. There are many sensible moves. Like all these moves make some sense. H3 makes some sense. H3 makes some sense. King g3 makes some sense. King g5 has some ideas. Knight d5, trying to help with the knight. So there are so many options, and they're very hard to calculate. You don't know what's the best solution here.
Yeah, here, but we also have to be careful if you're going for the mate, because we need that mate. Otherwise, black will be, let's say if we play h3 and black plays queen g2, king g5, we have to be sure there is a mate, because the g3 would be very dangerous.
Yeah, of course. So here I sit down on the board and start thinking. First of all, I was trying to make king g5 work. It was the last round game in a very prestigious open tournament. I did very well in that tournament. Actually, I increased my rating by 41 points by winning that final game. By winning that final game, I won like 15 points, I have to say. It was a strong CM. So yeah, actually, there were so many top GMs playing in that tournament, and most of the games were finished. So most of the people in the playing hall were watching my game.
Okay.
So I was really hyped to play such a flashy move and try to win in style in front of all these GMs. They were all watching this game.
Yeah.
I was like trying to make this king g5 work. King g5 is a very interesting move, which is very hard to calculate. Like if you ever wanted to give a GM a tough move to calculate, ask them to calculate king g5. Very tough.
Yes,
move.
So king g5, you have to be, you have to think about queen g2 or gh2. These are very dangerous moves.
So like, for example, in the game, I was thinking about some crazy ideas. For example, king g5, gh2, and g4. I was even thinking about this. The idea is that if black makes a queen, I give check,
and
king goes back,
f6.
I go king f6.
Wow.
And although black has 2 queens on the board, I can play g5, and that's
Look at
winning.
that g4 and g5 completely blocking all the checks here.
And that's just winning. I was seeing
this is amazing. And the king has shelter from everywhere right now.
Yeah, I saw that line during the game, but suddenly after I was hyped up to play this move, I saw this queen a3 move. The idea is that after here, king g8, I can't play king h6 because the queen gets back to f8 and now I'm losing.
Yeah, also queen d6 maybe.
I saw that during the game and I was like, okay, this doesn't work. So let's switch to like checks here. I was starting to see this check.
Okay,
And
king.
this check I saw doesn't work. I was starting to see gh2, queen f6, king f8. I was thinking about going king h8, queen d8 ideas. Like, for example, if here, again, if black makes a queen, it's losing. Because you give check, bishop here, and after knight e5, again, there's no checks for black, and the mate threats are unstoppable. Very devilish position.
What about queen a3?
Queen a3, you go check.
Bishop
I didn't
f7?
see that
Okay,
during
queen
the game,
h.
but I was thinking about it. Like, check here, check here.
Okay, a lot
and
is
this gonna be
happening.
mate.
Yeah, okay. We have
To be
queen
honest, I
d7
didn't
mate.
see that during the game, I have to say. But yeah, I was thinking about knight e5. Oh, sorry. I was thinking about knight e5 idea here with sorry, what is this? I was here. I was really thinking about
Queen f6.
Queen f6 and trying to go with king h6 here. I was trying to make that work, but it then realized that queen g2 is a bit of a problem. Like, after queen g2, I don't have anything because he's always trying to trade the queens. If he trades the queens, his h1 is going to decide the issue.
Yes.
And the best thing I can achieve here is a perpetual check. I saw this one during the game, but I don't have anything better than perpetual against this. But there's also some crazy lines where black makes the two queens and you will be able to checkmate.
Yeah, no wonder you spent half hour here.
Yeah, I was thinking about all these variations and I was saying that, okay, I need to impress all these GMs who are watching my game. I need to play some of these lines where black makes two queens and I checkmate them. I was desperately working to make that work, but it wasn't. So after like 20 minutes on king g5 here, I realized that it doesn't work. It probably doesn't work. So I switched to other options. And what I played during the game was hg3 move, which is also a blunder. The line that I saw is also very funny. You see how hard all the lines
this
are.
This is
here.
blunder, hg3?
Sorry?
hg3 is blunder?
hg3 is a blunder, yeah.
Wow. Why?
I calculated this line, queen g2, knight d5, check here. I'm almost getting mated here. My king is very, very weak here on f5. There's so much pressure on it. So I was actually calculating all these lines, and I saw till here, and I saw that after check, king e5, queen f6, I can take the pawn on e4, and then I'm probably better because I have an extra pawn, and his pawns are pretty stymied. If I trade the queens, I'll be winning. But the thing I missed during my calculations here was that he can play queen g6, and
king e5.
Wait a minute. Is GM Georgiev Anton Korobov, really? I think it is. Thank you so much for the follow. Is really a super GM watching my game here? So you can give opinion whether this is a tough position or not. You can confirm me. So queen g6 check has been played here.
King e5?
King e5, I calculated till here, but I missed queen e8. When I played hg3 in this position, I saw till here, but I missed queen e8. Where
okay,
black
so that's the draw, right? After queen e8?
Yeah, queen e8 is a draw. Black can get a perpetual.
Okay, so hg3 is blunder because it is becoming a draw.
Yeah, of course. I will lose my win. But in the game, my opponent was low on time, and he also missed that. And I'm just going to quickly show the game what happened, and then I'm going to come to the correct solution. So he played h4, which is a bad move. Maybe he was trying for the win. Of course he can, because I still have the perpetual anytime. So I just gave some checks, gained some time, took the pawn with check again.
Of course.
And the thing is that I come back here with check. And when the king goes back, I can push the pawn. That's very important. I can push the pawn. And somebody in my chat, GM Cagnus Marlson, says that I'm a super GM. And the thing is that I will queen with check. I saw that. And this is now winning because he push, I push, he push, I push. And
and you?
when he gives a check, I go to e5, he has to sack, and this resulting queen ending is winning because I'm just 2 pawns up, and he can't give checks to my king. So
Okay, this is the game continuation, right? What happened? Okay, after queen e5, and now easy win.
But the thing I missed here was, of course, the idea of the perpetual
So
check.
what was the best continuation there?
So what was the best continuation, guys? What do you guys think? Anybody in the chat? Why to play and win? There's only, like, between all these moves, between king g5, h3, king g3, h3, knight d5, and king h3. There are 6 candidate moves. All of them, to be honest, none of them is easy to calculate. But only one of them is the winning solution here. What do you guys think? Anybody else in the chat has any solutions to that? Why to play and win? Somebody says I like h3. Anybody else? I'm gonna reveal the solution in like probably 1 minute. So tell your opinion about this position. Very, very tough position, I have to say.
Yeah, it's not so easy because there are so many possibilities here. And especially queen end games are always complex. Because, you know, always you have to look out for perpetual checks as a defensive resource.
Somebody in my chat actually spoiled it. He said I thought he says h3.
No, don't check with the engine.
People are starting to check with the engine.
No, don't do that at all.
Yeah, so the thing about e3 was the fact that queen goes to d2, and now he's going to take the pawn on e3 with check. That's kind of a problem, and my king is going to have so many problems during this position.
So c3 was already played in the game, and even though he won, black had a chance to give a perpetual, and that line is actually drawing. So h capture g3 is a drawing line. Yeah,
of course. So hg3 was a draw. Somebody asked in your chat. hg3 was a draw because of that
queen
that line where takes, knight d5, check, and here in this position, black has a perpetual with queen g6, king e5, queen e8.
Yes, and you can't block with the queen because then you just take and the h pawn promotes. So white has to go king f5 and then you go queen g6 again.
Yeah, but the correct move here is h3. Very slow move.
h3.
So many people got it right. Hopefully they got it right by themselves. I'm very proud if you did, because it's not an easy move to do. I saw h3 in the game, but my problem was that after queen g2, I was still trying to make king g5 work. Like trying to use the g pawn as an umbrella to the checks. And once they take, I wanted to again mate them like this.
But the problem is scary. Queen e6, right?
Queen comes to e6 and it just trades everything. And
now black is just winning because of the pawns. So the g3 pawn is very scary now.
If you are reckless, you can also lose. So, but the solution is so simple. h3, queen g2, knight d5, and white is winning. White is simply winning because black doesn't have any checks. I'm already threatening to come with queen f6, knight e7, so black has to take, otherwise he's going to get mated. My king is the safest piece in the world on h4. There's absolutely no way that he can check me.
Yes, and if black takes, then you take, and then now queen g5 is unstoppable, and then white takes the g3 pawn, and then pawn endgame is winning.
So the thing is that the g pawn looks very dangerous. It's far advanced. It's very dangerous. But the problem is that...
looking at this solution, it seems pretty easy, isn't it? Pretty straightforward.
Exactly. So
once you look at it, it becomes straightforward.
I just give check and take the pawn. GM Georgiev asks here that which opening did this arise from? I played b4 to shock my opponent in this game, and he played a stonewall-like setup. So it's very quickly, if I skim through the game, it was a setup like this. I played a very good positional game. I traded the bishops, and this is the flow of the game. I played a very nice game. Put pressure on my opponent gradually, activated the king. But suddenly here, when my opponent went crazy with g3, it was a tough position to convert. So that was the opening which happened during the game.
Okay, so here a question is that is knight d5 immediately also drawing? So actually, with h3, white is...
The problem is that he takes. So now the king is not safe anymore. like if you compare this position, yeah, I finally won the game, but he could have drawn that. So hg3 that I played in the game was a big blunder.
Yeah, so in
Although I
h3 line,
thought
white
for
is
like
playing for a
40
win.
minutes,
So what
I
happens in
couldn't.
this line? In this line, what's the evaluation here?
It's 0-0. You have to give perpetual because if you don't give check in the next move, he's going to queen with check, and your king doesn't have enough shelter. That's the problem. Knight d5 was actually an easy line to reject during the game immediately because he's taking that and my king is completely naked here. Like just compare it to this position where the king is just completely safe. The bishop can't.
No checks. But I really like that position with two queens, you know, and the king was completely in shelter on f6. And the great thing was that the knight was on c3. Therefore, there were no tricks like queen f4 and queen d4.
Of course. So this one was very crazy. Like these lines where I was calculating during the game, and I was trying to desperately make them work. Like imagine playing in front of like 10 GMs and playing king g5, g4, and you win the game after like such a sequence. I was so hyped to play that.
Yeah, here there are no tricks like even because of the knight on c3. There are no tricks like queen d4 or queen f4 also.
Yeah, of course. So I was desperately trying to make them work. I spent most of my time on king g5 and such crazy lines which didn't work in the end. And I went with hg3, which fortunately I won the game, but it was tough.
If black had played correctly, black would be able to draw.
Yeah. So this was the first tough position. I'm going to show you the second tough positions. I showed that to many FMs and GMs, and that made them cry. Literally made them cry. That position is so hard that made everybody that I showed them to really cry. And they couldn't find a solution.
Try or cry.
So this is another game back in the time where I was 2000 rated player, FIDE. These are the FIDE ratings now. Although my national rating is now high, my FIDE was low at that time. I was 2000. I'm a little bit better.
So finally we have a game of your, famous Caro-Kann.
Yeah, so I played my lovely Caro-Kann with the black pieces. I try to speak a little bit slower. Somebody says your voice is too loud. Sure.
Fine.
So I played my Caro-Kann, very classical variation of the Caro-Kann, and I was trying to play for the win in this game. So this is very typical. Everybody in the chat knows this line. And here against 94, of course, there are two main lines, 94 and c5. In this game, I decided to go with this approach, where black tries to trade the queens. And here, I didn't know the theory anymore. Here, I think the trendiest line is to play queen d5, provoke this c4 move, and then return back to f5 with checks, and then maybe start pushing your a-pawn. So in this game, I was really playing for the win, but I knew that my opponent is also high rated, so he's probably also playing for the win. So I decided to repeat the moves once, asking question to play for the win. We're actually following, it's amazing, we're actually following a game between Karyakin and Jan Gustafsson, very high level game. Everything is same. Like you're exactly following this game. So here in this position, I played queen h7, which is a dubious move, which Gustafsson also played that in that game. And my opponent played g4. And suddenly, I'm under big attack. So in the game, what I played, I played it badly, I have to say. I miscalculated. So my calculation in the game was that I see all that when I took on b4. Let me also check what was the best solution. Here, it's already +2 for white or something. So
yeah, this looks pretty scary for black because white is a bit faster with the pawn storm on the king side.
So in the game I took, he played g5, I took. And after h6, I said if I play g6, of course my queen is gonna suffocate to death here on h7, which is
terrible.
Good. So I brought out my queen, he took on g7, and I played rook f8. So in this position, I'm attacking the pawn on c2. And my idea was that after he defends the pawn, I'm going to go knight h7, and and after I take the pawn, I'm 2 pawns up. I'm 2 pawns up, and I'm having a pretty solid position. And my opponent was sad. My opponent was like pretending that he's losing. He wasn't happy. I could have clearly told from his face.
Okay,
like
just a moment.
Here.
I had a raid from Angelica Chessphone. Thank you so much, Angelica, for the raid. And I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Hope you had a great stream today. And welcome everybody. Welcome raiders. And do support Angelica. I think everybody knows her on Twitch already. Do check out her streams. And today we are having a collaboration stream with Koosha here, and we are having an instructive session right now. So join us.
So in this position, my opponent think for 40 minutes and played bishop takes g5. And here comes the tough position, which is so hard to calculate. Again, the same pattern. You have so many options. You have king g7, you have queen g5, you have queen e5, you have rook c2, you have queen c2 check. And at some point, I was also thinking about bishop a3 ideas, that if he takes, I'm going to take here with check and then go for perpetual. I was also thinking rook c2, king a1, and then bishop a3. And
very
then
complex position.
Again,
and you know, in such positions, it is also very important that you keep calm, because these positions can look very dangerous. Look at the pawn on g7. And when you're studying chess, it's also important to try to learn how to defend such kind of positions. When you get into trouble, you should not, you know, just collapse immediately when the pawns are rushing to you, but try to hold on as much as you can and even fight for an advantage in such situations.
Yeah, of course. So in this position, I spent like 45 minutes, to be honest. I spent half of my entire time for the game. And this time I got it right, but I lost the game. So, spoiler. But it's a very interesting position. So you have to calculate queen g5, you have to calculate queen e5, you have to see king g7, you have to see rook c2, queen c2, bishop a3. Also some d3 ideas
moves here.
Reflect the way. A very, very tough position. Like I was trying to calculate all this, and of course it takes a lot of time. So the first moves that usually I was able to refute here, the first move I can refute is king g7. Very simple to refute because they just give check and they give another check and I mated. So I was able to refute king g7 quite fast. And I was able to refute queen e5 quite fast because they go queen h3. And combined with this rook and the pawn, there's absolutely no way to stop this checkmate.
Okay, so king g7, then queen h6. And...
Yeah, of course. If king g7, there's queen h6, king g8, queen h8. So I refuted queen e5 as well, quite easily. But then comes the hard part. I was calculating check, king a1, and bishop a3. This is a very interesting line. And I was thinking that this might work and might get me a draw. The thing is that if white takes, I easily have a perpetual. Then we have the
perpetuals.
And this is a draw. But the amazing move that white has here is to play bishop c1. It just holds everything together. Very, very cold-blooded bishop c1 backward move. Holds everything together, and now I have to deal with the threats on the other side of the board. The queen.
What about rook b1? Is rook b1 also working there?
Rook b1, I think it's also working probably. Yeah, it works. Rook b1 also works. Rook b1, I think knight d3 also works. So I saw that, yeah, knight d3 also works, I have to be honest.
Another suggestion here is rook c2 instead of queen c2.
Oh, rook c2 I also calculated. So these are having same ideas. So after bishop g5, rook c2, I was thinking about king a1 and playing bishop to a3. And again, the same idea is that if they take, I sack the rook. And
this is a nice line.
Yeah, this is a nice. I saw that during the game, but again, you can just ignore it. The engine says a crazy move with queen d3, which of course I didn't see. But in the game, I was thinking about, again, returning the bishop or returning the knight or defending with the rook. Like in these lines, I saw that you can simply ignore my threats and just keep defending. Like knight d3 is still, knight d3 is actually not winning. That's amazing. Is rook b1 winning? Rook b1 also not winning. Oh my god.
Maybe
wow,
bishop
this is insane. To be honest, I didn't see all that during the game. But looks as though the only winning try is to play either. I mean, this is also not working. So here
What
it's
about
also
rook
another
b1?
puzzle. White to play and win, and the only winning move for white here is to play queen d3.
Wow.
Very amazing.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you can't take on g5 because of rook g. Okay, you can just take on c2 first of all.
yeah, of course. And bishop b2 is not possible because king b1 and simply all the pieces are hanging. And if you take the queen and you go knight h7, you can't take the bishop because the rook on a8 hangs in the end.
Yeah.
Very tough
Yeah.
position.
And what about rook b1? Rook b1 also doesn't win there?
Rook b1 apparently, I mean, this is a very tough position to calculate. So I haven't seen all of that correctly during the game. But apparently, as my good friend Stockfish says, queen g5 is a nice solution.
Okay.
The thing is that queen h3 is not possible because now I can take and go rook c1 to trade the rooks using the queen on g5. Very important.
Okay, crazy line again.
Yeah, and it says f4, queen g2, and it's apparently 0-0 somehow. I don't want to go into deep details of that. Of course, this is very hard. I just wanted to show how hard some of these lines can be.
Yeah, so these last two games,
this line is so hard to calculate. Yes. But I had an intuition which was correct that this move is apparently not working. You can also not play king a1. You can play queen d3 straight away as well. Mm-hmm. It's also winning. But after king a1, bishop a3, the only winning move is queen d3, which is amazing.
Yes, that's nice to win. That's nice move.
David Stockfish is a good player. I completely agree with HAR84.
Farah says this stream is just inspires you to play chess for eternity and more.
Exactly. So I saw all of these, and I also calculated a little bit about like d3 or bishop a3 straight away, trying to maybe deflect the knight, but I saw that they're not working. So in the game, I went with the main line which I was calculating, which is queen g5, and he went queen h3, knight h5, and the main line I was calculating was that.
Okay, so you managed to trade the queens and at least get out of the heat for now.
Now, this one is also interesting by itself. For instance, I can't take the pawn because check here, and this is mate.
Wow, knight d7 is mate.
I can't take the pawn yet, although the
knight d7 is mate.
Mm-hmm. So I saw that I can play f6, and after knight g6, king f7, gives a check, king g8. I played that all correctly.
Take the pawn there?
Sorry?
Why not take the pawn after knight h8?
If I take the pawn, I lose because...
Oh, again, it's mate. Okay, not again, mate, but...
Not mate, but the rooks are coming into the 7th rank, and my
yeah, maybe even knight g6. Yeah. Looks pretty dangerous. Yeah, now rook f7 and rook g8 will be strong if bishop moves. David Stockfish for FIDE president.
David Stockfish for FIDE president.
Okay, that's why king g8 is played.
Yeah, of course. So rook dh1 was played. I played rook c5. I played that very well. Up to here, I managed to completely equalize. And here comes my blunder during the game. So in this position, which is still a very complex position, I nearly calculated till here when I took on.
But you managed to, evade all the attack, and I think you are okay now, right?
Yeah, I'm okay here. I'm completely okay. And in this position, in this position, I played the bad move rook g5, unfortunately. Because if I play rook a8, black is perfectly fine currently. Because I'm attacking this pawn, my rooks are holding each other. After knight g6, I just go here and everything somehow holds together. Okay. Crazy position. Crazy position, I have to say. Like, you see how deep one of the lines can be when you calculate.
Yeah.
That's why I say that even super GMs are going to suffer calculating these kinds of positions. So in the game, I made a blunder. I played rook g5. My idea was that after knight g6, I was planning to go bishop d8 to block this connection between the rooks, and my idea was to play like this. I was thinking that this is good for me. But what I missed was that he has this knight e7 shot.
Yeah, this 97 is so pretty. So pretty, right? 97. And now white wins an exchange in any case.
Yeah, and the game went like this, and he managed to convert a very long ending in the end.
97 was a deadly knight check.
Yeah, of course. So I lost this game. I don't want to show the ending anymore, but I want to show you a very interesting thing for white here. So after knight h5, white is actually winning with knight d7. Very crazy move. The only way that white can win this is to play knight d7.
But why knight d7? What's the idea with knight d7?
The idea with knight d7, first when I saw that, I was also like, what the hell is knight d7?
Yeah, it doesn't do it. It doesn't look like it does anything. I didn't even calculate that
during my calculation. I was thinking, of course, white should take that and go for this ending. But knight d7, the idea is to block this king from running to the f file. This knight kind of guards these two squares and doesn't let the king.
But what's the plan? Let's say I just wait.
Like, play what? He's going to play rook dg1 now. He's going to play rook dg1 and cement this pawn. So if you wait, he's going to go to the ending with having this pawn cemented on g7 and maybe some rook h8 mate coming or something like that. So you have to.
Can I try maybe queen f5 and trade?
Queen f5, I think they just take, and you still can't take g7 because this knight is now guarding both squares, and if you take...
That's a nice illustration of knight d7 idea. I fell right into the trap, you know.
That's just insane. Like,
I
so
just
hard
fell
to find out.
right into the trap with queen f5.
Yeah. So knight d7 was played, queen h4, and like this is not played during the game, but this is the analysis by David Stockfish, which goes through this ending, which is apparently, although the material is even, I'm so passive, my king is exposed. So the engine gives like +3 for white in this one. And this is the way my opponent could have won the game without me making mistake. But
yeah, I think maybe rook g4 is also coming up.
Yeah, this is so bad. This is definitely like, it's easy to evaluate that this position is bad because I'm just so passive. My rooks are not playing. My king is naked. So probably not easy to hold such kind of position.
Hi, Atom Bruiser.
Sure. So this was the game, and this is the position you can give to all of your students. Although all the moves are losing, here.
But this also shows, like, you know, the art of defense, we can say. So you managed to get out of the attack, get out of the heat, and still hold this.
But the most tenacious defense is, of course, what I played during the game, playing queen g5, knight h5, and forcing my opponent to find this crazy knight d7 idea, which he couldn't, but in the end, I blundered and lost the game. So very unfortunate about that, but I got one of the nicest puzzles that I can give to everybody, which you don't find in any other book. So I was happy.
Worth it, yeah? So the game is worth it.
Yeah. So this is the end of the third part. We have 2 more parts to go. So any questions from both chats?
So what are the next parts? So tell us about it.
That I'm planning for today. I hope you guys enjoy. Since many guys come to the stream and ask me about openings, I know that openings have many fans. And I wanted to include one part about the openings as well. So Bullet Mercenary, let's give a shout out to Mr. Bullet Mercenary. So yeah. Since many people ask a lot about openings, I know that openings courses are the most popular, which I'm kind of against that. I know that
if you're just new to chess, it's not healthy to spend a lot of time on openings. Okay, you need something to not lose in the opening, but still don't spend most of your time on that.
Yeah. So about the openings, first of all, I want to recommend people who are not high rated, like especially people below 2000 VChess. you don't really need to memorize a lot of lines. Some people tell me that they're 1600 and they come and tell me I finished the chessable course, like I practice all the lines, but I still lose the games. And when I check their games,
Yeah.
they get a good position out of the opening, but since they don't know any ideas and they don't know how to convert their advantages, they're of course losing. So
Yeah, exactly. And if the opponent changes little bit, then you don't know how to play that. So if you are learning rote lines, then it is not good for you, because your opponents will not all the time play exactly like that. All they will not play the main lines, and when they change, you should be also able to adapt to that.
of
That's
course.
why it's very important to know the ideas and middle game plans when you're learning an opening.
Exactly. Very great point by Rucha. So in this part, I'm going to show you 3 games very quickly. I'm not going to go deep into the games. I'm going to show you very quickly just the
So
opening
which
part.
opening are we going to look at?
We're going to look at King's Indian. I actually had a very good success against King's Indian recently with this system with white pieces. So I decided, since I had quite a good success and I think I'm pretty familiar with, to introduce people to this line, and if they like it, maybe they can use it as a weapon if they are d4 players.
Okay, so we might get a new weapon against King's Indian right now from the white side. Okay, guys, focus. Let's concentrate.
Of course, the most critical way to play as white is the main line, which goes like this: d4, knight f6, d4, g6.
Okay, so first of all, the King's Indian defense is when black plays the system with the pawn structure d6 and g6. So you can see whenever you see this pawn structure against the d4, this is the King's Indian defense, also short form as KID. And black tries to play, knight f6, short castle, and then black has different plans. One is to play c5, other is to play c6, and other break you can try is to play e5. So there are different plans for black as well, and the main structure is this: d6 and g6.
Exactly. So in this line, black usually tries to play e5 and then usually goes with the king side attack ideas with castling, knight d8, f5, f4, and very complex kind of opening.
And so one question is that, like beginners, they ask me, is that what is the difference between the Perk and the King's Indian? Because you might get easily confused because of the structure, like the Perk modern defense and the King's Indian defense. And the whole difference is this pawn on c4. So in the Perk modern, the pawn is on c2 still, and in the King's Indian, the pawn is on c4. So that is the whole difference there.
Exactly. Great point to make. So the main way to play against the King's Indian, which is the most popular and most played at the top level, is to go with the critical approach, and usually you play usually develop like this, and the game usually goes like something like this. This is called the bayonet attack, a very tactical line, but I'm not going to recommend that because, of course, for playing such a line, the idea is that white is attacking on the queen side, trying to create a weakness on the d6 pawn most of the time, or utilize the open c file in the future. And at some point, they might reroute the knight and try to attack the pawn on d6. But on the other hand, black also starts attacking. Sometimes black has some very heavy pawn storms coming at you. Sometimes black has bishop sacks to open up your king. And you need to know very much theory if you want to play that. If you don't know theory and you play into this, you're going to get checkmated. This is the easiest way to get yourself
You're really scaring. You're really scaring us.
Like, there are also other critical lines like 4 pawns attack, which white usually sacks a pawn and try to get some compensation. They're all good lines. I have nothing against them, of course. If you are well prepared in these lines and you know what you're doing, of course, go ahead and play them. Of course, they're great openings. 4 pawns attack, great surprise. Knight f3 bayonet attack. If you know the theory that much, of course, I can recommend that you play it. But this time, I'm going to suggest you a very solid setup that you can always play without knowing that much of theory, just by following the normal rules of chess.
Okay,
This
that's
is
interesting because,
uh,
a lot of players don't have so much time to spend on one particular opening. So we would like to have a setup which is, easy to play and where you get solid positions and which are very promising.
exactly. So in this game, usually I start this with knight f3, but you guys can also start it with d4, then knight f3.
Mhm.
Of course, it doesn't make that much difference. So in this game, I'm starting with this move order. And the idea against the King's Indian I'm going to suggest is to play the double fianchetto.
Mhm.
I think this is very solid, and it's very hard for Black to make any progress against. The thing about the King's Indian players, is that they want to attack you on the King's side. They love to get the bayonet attack. They love to get that pawn storms on the King's side. And when you play something solid like this, they're usually most of the time out of their comfort zone. That's the reason I recommend that line to most
Okay.
people. So in this line, actually, let me change the move order a little bit. So usually when Black plays d6, I usually play d4 now. You can always play d4 first and then go with the double fianchetto. It doesn't make a lot of difference. And here, Black has three different ideas, three different kind of ideas. One idea is to play c5 and take the pawn.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are three different systems that Black can play. One is to play c5 and take the pawn, like Benoni kind of structures.
Okay.
One other idea is to play c5 and after c4, just keep the tension.
Mm-hmm.
There are some lines where Black can,
Play
where
c6
Black can,
and
they play knight c6, knight a5, and they start playing a6, b5 and trying to question this pawn structure here.
mm-hmm.
And the other idea is to play e5, try to open up the center very quickly, and then play knight g4, try to use this pin on the long diagonal. So these are the three main ideas.
Black is trying to either take, play in the center or on the queen side. So playing in the center with e5, or the other ideas is with c5. And in c5 you have different options like to take or to keep the tension with just leaving the pawns as it is.
Yeah. So now against all these lines, I'm going to show how easy white play can be. Like white's play, I'm not going to show you the entire games. Probably, if you want, I can show you, but my main emphasis is the positions that you get out of the opening and how playable are they. So in this game, I'm playing against a 2365 opponent. My rating is actually was 2177 at that point, I guess. So I should fix that probably. I wasn't that low rated in this game, but no. Actually, I played a second game. Yes. No, that's fine. Let's go. So this game, I played this line against him, and he took. So he went with the approach where you play c5 and you take. This is actually very popular. 48 games are played in Masters level in this position, as I see in database.
Okay.
And that's how I played. Very simple chess. Just take with a knight, develop your knight, castle king side. And you see, I don't do anything special. I don't memorize a very concrete line or something crazy to get advantage. And now white is just better. I have a very strong bishop pointing at b7. He has a problem developing his bishop. And my next move is also very simple. See, h5 he played, trying to make me scared, but I just queen d2, rook fd1, rook ac1. Just played a very simple moves.
Yeah.
And this position
I will just be back in a minute, okay?
Yeah, sure.
You can continue.
No, I don't want to be the only speaker.
Okay, then I will be back in a moment.
Yeah, sure, of course. What are you guys thinking about this? Are you enjoying the content? Or do you want more content like this in the future? Just let me know about your opinions, and hopefully if you like the content, really, if you think it's instructive and you're enjoying, let me know in both chats. I'm reading both chats, of course. Let me know. We can do more content like this. But if you prefer me to play more chess on stream, also let me know. Sente thinks that it's instructive, so that's great. We're almost doing pretty well here. So let me explain a little bit. So this position is very good for white, very playable. I just completed my development. I have a very strong bishop on the g2 square. I have a very strong grip on the center. He can't easily push d5. And he doesn't have any counterplay. And if you give it to the David Stockfish, David Stockfish already says that it's plus 1.3 for white. And for getting a plus 1.3 against a very strong player, 2300 plus, I just played simple chess. Like, I can replay the game very quickly for you. Just simple chess. Look, I didn't do anything special in this line of the King's Indian. Just develop my pieces, king safety, bring the rooks to the middle. I'm already in the driver's seat. He's suffering because it's so hard to create any counterplay for black. Thanks for the stretch. I'm gonna get a sip of the water. I will be right back.
Okay, we are back at the same time.
Yeah, so this was the first solution for black to play with c5 and cd4. And I think these resulting positions are usually very comfortable for white. And in the worst case, you can hope for an easy draw because it's so hard for black to create any weakness in white's position. And usually King's Indian players, they like to attack you. They like to checkmate you. They like to play a tactical calculation-based game. But with this line, they're not going to get what they want.
Yes, in openings, in all kind of different openings, you always have to consider three options. So whenever the pawns are attacking each other, in any opening that you will see, the options are like, to trade, to advance, or to just leave it as it is. So if you check any opening, for example, let's say Karo Khan, so e4, c6, d4, d5, you have to calculate all the three lines. So takes e5 or knight c3, even if you look at French. And this is like the more complex patterns in this. So even in this, black plays c5, so you have to consider three options for white as well.
Exactly. So this is the first option. I'm going to quickly skim through the game where I won. Just don't want to emphasize on that, but I just played a very simple game. I had some chokes in the middle, and I managed to get this better position where I have a control over the C file, and slowly but surely I improve my position like this, and I get a better ending, of course, with the passed pawns, and I managed to win it somehow. I don't want to go into the details of this game.
Okay. Hello, James Plunder. Good to see you. James is here.
Of course. We have Super Grandmaster Badur Jababa watching. We have Anton Korobov watching on my stream, so that's just amazing. But so many,
good to have you.
Players.
And also hello to Anton.
Of course. So let's go to the second part. So in the first part, we saw what I do when black takes this pawn on d4.
We saw I like the way how we have organized, our session today. So it's like a bit of everything. So first we saw, how you approached your opening prep. Then we saw, of course, like how to, deal with time pressure, time management, then about mistakes and part about end games. And now we are talking about openings. So it's like this is a very balanced study, we can say. And that's what makes it very interesting, Sometimes you're studying only one thing straight away for 4 hours, 5 hours, and then it can get tedious. But this is a mix of everything. And there is something for everyone in this session, I can say.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Hopefully you guys also enjoy. Really cool, and let me know if you have any questions or you want something else covered in the future or in this session.
And also the way you're analyzing in detail, it's very useful for everyone to learn. So we are all learning right now a lot.
So I think the other way that black can play against this setup, so we saw that after cd4, knight d4, white can just go knight c3, queen d2, rook c1, rook d1 with a very good solid position, very playable without knowing much theory. The other way that black can play is to hold the tension here. This was one of my other games where my opponent decided to go bishop d7. And the idea is that after d5, they go knight a5, and they want to attack this pawn chain with some b5 ideas.
Okay.
So this is another idea that so many people play, very typical in many different lines of the King's Indian. This is also played. Actually,
Now
the
this
first
becomes
time
the Benoni, is it?
Yeah, it's actually turned into some kind of Benoni, I have to say. The first time I faced this over the board, to be honest, I played it horribly wrong. I made it drop barely in the end, but against a6, I played like a4, and my pawn on b3 became weak. He started attacking it like this, and it was a horrible game. I barely hold the draw. But after that, I studied, and I realized that it's possible to easily allow b5 here. And in this game, I simply develop my pieces. Again, the same pattern in all these lines is that you play simple chess. You don't need to memorize a bunch of lines with very much detail to meet King's Indian. So in this game, I played here, played e4, and got a very solid center here. Although my opponent took and opened the b file, I just simply played bishop c3. And already, what about knight c4 after d4? What about knight e4? Sorry. Somebody asked what is knight e4? I just...
Okay, that's interesting actually.
Hey.
So bishop g7,
because the rook hangs. If the rook was on e8, that was a possibility, I think. Good point by Anusha. Because if the rook was on e8, that might have been a tactic, which is working. But here, after knight e2, I have bishop f8, and I'm winning material, so that doesn't work.
So we are winning an exchange here.
Okay, I can talk about that.
That's an interesting idea. So with rook on e8, that works.
I can talk about that very soon also. But here already, like this game, I'm playing against a 2100 plus FIDE opponent. This guy is a very talented kid. He's improving day by day. So he's definitely stronger than his rating. But I'm playing against such a guy. Kids are always well prepared in the opening as well, I have to say. But already move number 13, just by playing simple chess, just by developing, controlling the center, I'm already having plus 1.5. It's a very hard position for black to play because there are so many pieces on the board while black pieces doesn't have enough space to play. And in the game, he tried to justify his strategy by trying to attack my pawn, but I'm just simply holding everything together. And I'm just going to show you how the game concluded. He was trying to play on the flank while his strategy
e5 is the main idea for white here, to break in the center. And black is trying, in general, black tries to focus on the queen side here. But right now, it doesn't look so good for black.
Exactly.
Doesn't look coordinated.
Yeah, but he went all in, tried to justify his strategy because here he's losing the game. So he went knight b2 and suddenly his knight was trapped. Simple as that.
That's nice. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so knight is trapped. Poor knight on b2.
And the thing is that after rook b1, he can't take on c4 because I have bishop f1, winning the knight.
And guys, don't like to stress too much on that blunder because it's like stockfish. If it likes a line a little bit more, it will say the second line is blunder. So don't worry about it too much. And also don't worry about it in your games, I see...
It's already plus 3.5. So like the stockfish has an engine line, which is rook e1, which nobody plays. Everybody wants to win the knight. So
but this is also very important to follow in your games because I see, like even with my students, like they get scared, like why did I make a blunder? But it's like not a blunder really. It's just the second best line, and that's why stockfish treats it as a blunder.
Very good point. So in the game, I just wrapped it up very easily, and the knight is now easily trapped here. Even the knight is...
Knights are having nightmares.
Because black is having such a lack of space. In this line where black doesn't commit to take on d4, the reason most people take on d4 is that in this line, black is just suffocating to death with the lack of space. So when you have space advantage, it's usually good to keep the pieces
both the knights got trapped. Nightmares.
Yeah, and in the game, he managed to take, and here he resigned. Very easy win.
Yeah.
And it was one of those games where I finished with more than an hour on the clock, which shows that I wasn't even challenged during this game because the position was so easy to play for white.
Now you're flexing.
I didn't need to calculate anything. I just play simple chess and win the game.
Yes.
So this was against c5 ideas, first of all. somebody in my chat, which is a very strong woman FIDE master, member of Iranian national team,
Wow.
asked me that what if knight e4? Knight e4 is also a nice line, which black can play. Try to create a pin. And against knight e4, I usually play knight bd2 here, and bishop f5 usually to defend the bishop. And against bishop f5, knight h4 is a line, I know that, but it requires some study. If you want a more solid approach, you can always take and play e3, very playable position. Maybe not. Never mind. I think it's bad because of d5, engine says.
Okay.
So maybe against bishop f5, knight h4 is good to exploit the position of this knight and the position of this bishop simultaneously. And if black takes, I just take with a queen and play e3. I think this is, again, a very solid formation. I can also bring the rooks to the middle, keep the tension for a moment. So I think I can also play d5. If they play like bishop g4, d5 is a good move. So this is how I usually play against knight e4. But the common thing about all this is that you don't need to know a lot of theory. This is good for many people who don't have enough. After knight h4, queen takes, knight takes d2. I mean, this is a line you need to know. This is a very wild line, which goes like this.
Wait, why take with pawn?
Why take with pawn? Okay, you're challenging me on stream. Okay?
No.
I'm learning now. I'm learning. I don't know this line. This is actually the first time I'm seeing
No,
this.
it seems just a little bit unusual.
I'm learning something new here. People are challenging me with their tactical lines here.
Okay.
And apparently this is supposed to be good for me because the pawn is hanging. What
no,
if they
I think maybe queen g5 and queen f5 is also an idea.
Exactly. So although this pawn hangs and this queen g5 idea also.
No, we can maybe even give the rook maybe. Like, don't worry about rook b1. Just go queen g5, queen f5, and bishop e4.
Let me check. Dr. Stockfish is here to tell us.
Okay, I'm not checking with engine, so I don't know.
So here he says that queen f5. Oh, they have e6 move, in between move, very important, to kick the queen away and then take the rook. So now that's kind of a problem. Okay. It's probably not good. But against this line, I mean, now I'm learning myself that knight h4 is a good idea. Trying to open up this strong bishop on g2. And if they take, you take. And whenever they move this knight to take this pawn and support taking this pawn, you always have a bishop pointing on b7. So that's a good point to make. That's a challenging line to study here. So we go to the final part of this part, which is playing against e5 ideas. This is another game.
So again, this is just a change in sequence of moves. We are in the same position.
Yeah. So this time my opponent played e5. And in this game, I played knight g4.
Yeah, this is the whole idea with e5 idea. So, you know, not just in this opening, this is used many times. So you can also look out for this e5 move. And when you take, then they go knight g4 and this is a pin. And then they recapture back with the knight. Or even sometimes wait one move and play knight c6 and then recapture. If you don't kick the knight with h3.
So I just castled. He played knight e7. As you said, you can wait. And the idea I like to play here against this setup is to play c4. Very important move. These two moves, I think you need to know. And then the game is just going to flow. So you play c4, they take with a knight, and you play queen d2. Very important. And after that, I learned this from games that I saw on database. Like so many top players played like that. And I saw that this is very good scoring for white. Like the top two lines, black never got a win. Like the two most popular lines with rook e8 and knight f3 here for black, black never got a win in a master's level game. Very tough position to play for black. The reason is that, first of all, the d5 square is weak. My idea is to immediately bring the knight here and put some pressure. I got two very strong bishops. And the thing is that anytime he plays a move like c6, now the pawn on d6 is going to be a weakness, and I can bring the rooks to the middle and start attacking this point. And again...
Yeah, don't fall for the trap. c6, queen d6 is knight f3, losing material.
Yeah, of course. And black doesn't have any King's Indian-like attacks anymore. So I have so many games with this line as white in my Elite Chess profile. If you check, I have 58 games in this position. I played that so many times. So I
You
have
know
a
all
very
your
good feel with
statistics,
that.
yeah? You know all your stats.
What about Queen F7 and then Knight F3? Somebody asked you, you just simply go Knight C3. You can just always simply go Knight C3 to block this diagonal. Anytime that there are some tactics lurking in this diagonal, you can always play Knight C3, completely block that, and it also helps your development and your future plans to
Yeah,
plant a
then you
knight on
can maybe
B5.
prepare rook b1 and then knight 5 or
Yeah, you can
even
also
king it. Okay, I don't know. King
you can
it.
also go rook c1, rook d1, bishop a1 if it's needed. Anything works. White barely can lose.
Yeah.
And if they take, you can take with a bishop, but there's also a nice line where you take with a pawn and keep your bishop on g2. Both of them are completely playable. You just cannot lose a game like this if you play well. I never lost an over the board game in this line against
Okay.
anybody who played that. Very hard to lose. To be honest, very hard to lose because black simply doesn't have enough counter chances here. It's already like this position is like plus 1.7 for white. White is having a complete grip over the center. He has two excellent bishops, and black is suffering with his development on the queen side. So
Okay.
very playable line against this e5 as well. So
Yeah,
that's
that's like a new tool. So guys, if you're new to playing this system, this is one system which you can use, which is easy to play, and you can use this double fiend shadow line against the KID, King's India Defense. So just remember the important parts of this and play in the center and play simple. Keep it simple. Don't complicate things. And then try to keep the pressure in the center of the board. Try to keep the tension and then improve your pieces, connect your rooks, get them on depending on the position C1, D1 or D1, E1. And then again play for the center.
exactly. I completely agree with Rucha's points that she made. So that's the fourth part of the stream, I guess. We are almost there to the end.
Okay. It's been
And
very interesting so far.
yeah, we have just one more part, which is the bonus part, I have to say. It's
Yes,
not,
we are up for bonus part.
yeah, the games are not like maybe I have something in common between these games, and we can have another good discussion here. So these three next games that I'm going to show from myself are the games where I go head to head against players who are much stronger than me.
Okay,
Mostly
guys,
like
we are in the last segment,
yeah,
and now Kusha is going to show some of his games where he played the highest rated players in his chess career, I can say, so far.
exactly. So in these three games, I played against GMs or future GMs. And first of all, I want to ask everybody, what is your strategy when you face a much stronger player than yourself? Like, imagine you are playing against Badur Jobava, you are playing against Anton Korobov, or you're playing against, I don't know, you're playing against Magnus Carlsen, assume. What is your strategy? I'm asking Rucha first of all. Do you like to try to play a messy opening, try to mess things up, and try to create a position which is an absolute mess, and in that chaos, you might have some chances to outplay them.
That's a
They
good
might
question,
miss a
actually,
tactic.
like if
Or
you're...
you are trying to stay solid, don't take any risks, keep the position close, and try to play a slow maneuvering game. Which one do you prefer?
Both the
mostly?
options are very, I can say, very interesting, both choices. If I have to choose one personally, I think I would play something which I am familiar with, because if I'm playing a stronger player than myself, let's say I'm playing a super GM, I would play something which I'm familiar with and stay in my territory as much as I can. But okay, sometimes it also makes sense to just completely go in a new territory, which is new for both of the players, So maybe some lines which are played less, and then you can try to rely on your middle game or some skills like that. So it actually depends, because some players, they have played some systems over and over and they are very masters of it, and
Right.
you don't know if you should directly go into that, because analysis or preparation might be just stronger, and you might just find yourself in the opening in trouble already. So it's a tough decision to make when facing
Yeah, I
strong
saw
players.
some articles about that. Some people suggest you to play very solid and don't take any risks. But the problem with this strategy is that simply they are better players than you. You should accept that. Like when you're playing a 2700 rated FIDE player, of course they understand chess more than you. They saw more patterns and positions. So if you play a slow game, there's a high chance that you slowly but gradually get outplayed in a very long lasting game. And the problem with going with the tactical strategies that simply their opening preps are much better than you. It's a very low chance that you can count them out in the opening. They have very deep analysis, the super GMs. So you might get completely destroyed in like 1 hour of the game if you're not knowing what you're doing. So my strategy personally is to try and play solid, not to go into the lines which are messy, but I'm trying my best. Usually can't do that. I need to work on that, but I'm trying to not play passive. That's very important. Solid is very different with passive. If you play passive, just trading your good pieces with their bad pieces and try to get closer to a desirable draw.
Yeah, some players do that, isn't it? Like if you're facing a much stronger player, what they try to just exchange everything and just try to keep equal pieces on the board and hope for a draw. That does not work at all. It never works like that.
So it's my recommendation personally is to play solid, not to go into a very dubious openings or lines
solid
that
aggressive.
But you don't play passive. Like if you have a good piece, like you have a good bishop and they have a bad knight, some low-rated players, I saw that they trade that in order to get closer to an endgame, which is
endgames does not mean draw. Endgames does not mean draw at all.
So let's show you the games that I played. In 2 of the games, I managed to get a draw against a very strong opponent. And in the 3rd game, I didn't. I lost. So let's see the games. In the first games, I'm playing against the one and only Alireza Firuzja. Of course, anybody of you know him. He's currently a super GM, but at the time of that game, he wasn't a GM. At the time of this game, to be honest, he wasn't a GM, but he was still a very strong player. He won the Iranian championship in that year. So although he wasn't a GM, he was still much higher rated than me, and he was very strong. So
he must be
I'm happy with the draw in this game. So in this game, again, I played my lovely b4 opening in order to shock him, because I knew he's much better than me in like King's Indian main lines or like Sicilian main lines, which he used to play at that time. So I didn't want to go into deep preparations that he has. I knew that he's very good in the openings and he's working a lot on his chess. So I decided to shock him with b4, and that made me famous in Iran. Like everybody was saying that this guy played b4 against Firuzja and nearly won. And after that, I never play b4 against Iranian players because everybody preps for me when they face me in over-the-board chess. Always prep for.
Now you just play against rest of the world, yes, except Iran.
Yeah. So the game went.
Maybe that's the reason why you moved to Canada, because everybody know your repertoire in Iran. So you need a new audience.
Oh, I have some parts of my repertoire which Iranians also not familiar with. So I have some weapons against Iranians as well if I face them. So we went into this critical line of 1b4, and he was shocked. He wasn't prepared for that. He wasn't. He didn't knew that you should play d5 and go for this initiative-based setup. So he played a bad move with bishop f8, which is his plan was to reroute the bishop to g7 and try to meet my bishop on b2.
Yes, guys, if you're here still from the beginning of the stream, you might remember the first game, which was with b4, and it was similar line, and black played d5 and gave a sacrifice on e3 with the rook.
Exactly. So in this game, he also played solid. I also kept playing solid. So here I'm happy with a draw. I attacked his bishop. He went back. I went back, and I asked him the question: show me your cards. Show me how you're going to win this game. I'm keeping on asking him the same question, and he's forced to, since he's a high-rated player, he's forced to play b6 and go for the win. And again, I play very solid, very prophylaxis. His bishop is going to come to b7, so I play knight b2 and bishop f3 just to meet the bishop. I want to show you how solid I play against him. Just the idea is not to not to give him any chance, because he's a very tricky player, very sharp with the tactics, and I know that if I play into something that is based on calculation, he's definitely going to outplay me. So I just played very solid, traded the pieces. You can see I'm very solid. I don't give him any chances. Just block the center, wait for him to make progress. Just want to show it very quickly. I just trade more pieces.
If you have to, define Alireza's style, since I guess you might have played him a lot of times, also when as kids, maybe, you might have seen him grow as a player. How will you define his style has evolved?
So Alireza, at that time where he was in Iran, I believe his main strength was his tactics. Like he's so sharp with the tactics. He can literally see like the toughest possible tactics in no time. That's just insane. I had a blitz game against Alireza, blitz rated game over the board, where I again played before against him after this game. At that time, he was a 2650 GM, so he was very strong. And I again managed to get a great position, and I had plus 4.5 against him. I had plus 4.5 against him with white pieces before. He had 1 second on the clock. I had 1.5 minutes, but I missed a single tactic, and he found it in 3 seconds. That's just ridiculous, and he beat me. So I missed my chance to beat Alireza because he's so sharp with the tactics. But that was his previous style. Currently, I saw many of his games where he showed excellent positional understanding, just outplaying many super GMs in positional games. Like specifically, I saw his game against David Anton. That impressed me a lot. His game against David Anton Giharo in I think Tata Steel or some tournament like that, where it was a queenless ending, roughly equal, and he managed to completely outplay Anton, which is a very solid player. So I know he improved his positional play very much from the date that this game is played. So in this game, I was trying to exploit his weak point, which was unfamiliarity with the structure, and also he wasn't that good in positional chess at that moment compared to now, of course. If you play now, I think I don't have any chances. Let's be honest. I will give my 100%, but I think only a miracle can save me. So the game, I want to show you very quickly some interesting points.
Okay.
So I just kept very solid, preventing him from b5. And for instance, here he wants to play b5, just prevent his ideas. And he was so frustrated during this game. He was thinking, how should I break through this? How should I get any advantage? And once he started to play some risky moves like f5, I suddenly got better here. And he's now on some trouble. Again, I control everything. Don't let him go to any complications.
Looks preferable for white, of course.
Yeah, of course, white is much better here. And I managed to, when he was low on time, I pushed f5 and
f5 is a nice idea to use.
Because if he pushes, I always have rook e6.
And the good thing is that your queen is defended on c2, so there is no pin with the queen as well.
And that actually happened in the game. So he played here, I played knight f5 and won an exchange like that. And we went into this ending, which is Engine is saying that it's plus 2.4 for white. But in the game, I decided to repeat the moves.
Okay, so here draw was...
But in the game, I decided to repeat the moves and get away with a draw. Engine says it's plus 2.7, but in the game, I was scared that if his king can somehow get to e5 and win this pawn, these 3 pawns are not so easy to stop. And I was, of course, playing against a stronger opponent. I knew that he's very good in calculations in the ending. So
yeah, I think it's a good result. I mean, this endgame is not easy to win from here, right?
This is also another discussion. Like when you're facing a much stronger opponent and you have a better position and you have a chance to draw, are you going to take the draw or are you going to play for the win? This is double-edged. Like
but also depends on the position, right? Like that position is not so clear, I guess. So draw is fine. But if you're like having some clear advantage, then it's worth to take the risk.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But after the game, he was shocked. He was so happy that he got the draw, and he was saying to me, "Why you don't play for the win? You are winning." To him, it was clear that it's winning, but for me, it wasn't. I was a little bit scared. Like in time pressure, always we can't evaluate the position.
Yeah, but that end game was difficult because I just imagine that, like, let's say black gets knight to d4 and then plays b5 and a4 and then just king takes on d5. All the pawns are defended.
To be honest, it's looking dangerous. Engine says it's fine, but you're not the engine. So practically, it's so hard to play for the win here.
Yeah.
So the next game, which is having a similar pattern, I'm playing against another Iranian GM, which is Masoud Mossadegh.
Let's flip the board.
Yeah. So he's former World Under-18 champion, very strong grandmaster. I'm playing with black this game. And again, I kept going with the same strategy. I played very solid, played the advanced variation of the Caro-Kann, and see how solid I'm playing. I'm just not going into any complications, blocking everything, offering the trade, and just developing my pieces, not going into any kind of pawn breaks or complications. Like for here, Engine says play c5. Engine always likes c5, but I don't want to have like tension positions in the center. I wanted very solid stuff. And that made him think a lot. In both games, my opponents went into deep time pressure because they were thinking so much, trying to break through my position, while I was sitting there and playing normal moves without spending that much time. So here, just develop, castle, rook c8. And he was suffering. He was really suffering. Rook f c1, b6. I'm so solid. Simply white can't create something here. That's the problem. And like, there's a position here, for example, which shows how was my mindset for this game. In this position, Engine says to play c5. It opens up the queen. It opens up the rook on this queen. Like it opens up everything on this relatively weak king. But I didn't want to let him to have a weakness on h5 and maybe take and bring a knight here and create something. So I just kept solid, g6.
Okay, then maybe later you want to play c5? Like first defend h5?
To be honest, I never planned to play c5. I just wanted to keep solid and see what he's trying to do. Just prophylaxis, no aggressive chess. And here he tried to trade the knights, but I take with the e-pawn and plant the knight on e6. Again, very solid. And this is a funny moment. He think for like 15 minutes in this position, trying to find a way to make progress. And clearly, he couldn't find any ideas. He clearly couldn't find any ideas to break through my position. And he played king g2, asking me to play a move. And maybe I weaken my position myself, and then he can get some advantage. But then I immediately played king g8 and again passed out the move to him. Okay,
are you planning like bishop f8, bishop h6, or you're just waiting here?
Yeah, king g8 is also good in some sense that I can maybe reroute the bishop here. It's probably blocked here. Might go
h6, right? Yeah, h6.
But g7 is also if it goes crazy with like attacking ideas or sacking something on h5, then I might put the bishop on g7 to guard my king. So again, very solid. And then just trading pieces on the terms that's not making my position worse. Very solid. Again, like plays a4, doesn't follow any specific plans. I just wait and it's another bunch of pieces, all equal throughout. And here, in this position, he had 1 second while I had 20 minutes.
Just a minute. Thank you so much, Chakitas, for such a big raid. Thank you, and I really appreciate the raid. And welcome, raiders. Today we are having a collaboration stream with Koosha here, and we are having some instructive discussions. We are looking at some instructive games, and I really appreciate the raid. Thank you so much. Hope you had a wonderful evening.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chakitas, for the raid. One of my favorite channels also. I like Chakitas.
Yes, of course. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
My channel as well to Chakitas.
Yes, let's give a big shout out for Chekitas and do check out her channel and do support her
Of course.
on both
So
streams. Let's go.
we're getting good rates as well, both of us. That's
Yeah.
great. So in this position where he was low on time, I started to lash out and create some counter chances in the end. I took the pawn, and now his king is a little bit weak. And I bring my queen out. Queen a4 is a very nice move. And
Yeah, so you're targeting d4 and...
The thing is that after knight d5, there's queen a2, which picks up the knight. And in this position, he offered me a draw. And again, although I'm a little bit better, since I'm playing a GM, I said, okay, draw against the GM with the black pieces, it's probably not a bad result.
And it's also, okay, what's the evaluation here?
Valuation says -1.4 for black.
Okay, it's not very big advantage, I guess. Okay,
yeah,
but still you have nothing to lose here. That's one good thing.
I saw queen 2, and if I take, they take.
Okay, this is pretty much drawish because now it's 3 versus 3, and even if you nothing to play for.
I saw that in the game, but the line which gives advantage for black is king g8, which is again very hard to find by human being. Yeah, somebody in my chat says your strategy was to bore him to death. Exactly, that was my strategy.
What is the idea of king g8? Like waiting for white to take on d5, hoping for some trap with queen a8.
Yeah, knight d5, queen a8, I win the knight. Very interesting. Queen b3, I go knight c7. But in the game, after this, I think it's so hard for black to win. And if I take with a knight, in some lines, it can get messy. Like if they take here and go knight f6, my king might fall into a mating net. And against the GM in time pressure, usually it's nothing where I want to go. And at that time, I wasn't that strong. Like I was participating in this tournament without even touching the chessboard for like 3 months. So I just tried not to go into deep lines of calculations. I just tried to stay solid, and it worked. I got the draw.
That's actually a good game, you know? Like you were not in trouble at all. Like very smooth game from start to finish.
And he won the tournament. In the end, he won the tournament. He managed to win his next 6 games in the tournament and then made 2 draws to clinch the tournament. So in the first round of the tournament, he drew with me and then won every single game. He was in best form, but with this solid approach, I was able to stop him from winning. Very important.
That's a good game. Yeah, pretty good game, I must say.
Yeah, so that's one game. And now I'm going to show you one game where, again, I stick with the same strategy to play very solid against a high-rated opponent, but it didn't work. I lost it. I want to show you one loss as well. I don't want to only flex my good games.
So guys who are joining right now, we are now in the final part, and Koosha is showing us his games against stronger, higher rated opponents and how he played. Like, you know, what is his strategy, and explaining the moves.
Yeah, so in this game, I'm playing against Iranian #1, Parham Maqsoodou, a very strong player. He's now currently a 2700 plus player. And the story for that game was that Thursday, I was in a wedding. I was in a wedding of one of my relatives. And then somebody called me and told me that, are you ready to play for our team in Iranian Super League? I said, okay, Super League is very high level in Iran. Like usually 2,200 plus players mostly play there. And I couldn't reject that offer. Their offer was good. So I decided to play. I said, okay, I play. And they said that your first game is on Saturday. So in Iran, Saturday is not a day off.
Yeah, I was talking about it other day
like
on my stream.
Thursday and Friday are days off, and Saturday and Sunday are working days.
It's crazy. So, it's crazy for the rest of the world to imagine that you have holiday on Thursday and Friday, and Sunday and Saturday and Sunday are working days.
Of course. So Saturday I went to university. I had 3 courses to go through, and like around 5 p.m. was starting my first round, and in like 3:30 the guy messaged me and told me that we're going to play against Parham with the black pieces in the first round, like the toughest pairing that you can get. And I wasn't really ready for that tournament. I wasn't in practice mode. Like imagine not planning for any tournament, but somebody calls you 2 days before the start and tells you to come, so you don't have any practice, you're not ready, and in the first round you're going to get a super GM with the black pieces. That's the toughest that you can ever get. So in this game, my prep against Parham was prepping against his e4 lines mostly, because I said if they play something solid, I'm going to also play solid. I'm going to keep asking them questions, how they're going to convert, which happened in the game. I just studied some of his lines where he plays more sharp lines, and I didn't want it to get wrecked in the first round in front of all my teammates. So I just wanted to play a good game. When the game started, he played c4, and I kept very solid from the start. We went into a solid Catalan line, which is a very typical idea to play like with c6, b6, bishop a6. This is very typical.
So this is also one of the main lines against the Catalan, to play against the Catalan.
Yeah, exactly. So Rucha says also she plays that. So you can also share some of your ideas.
Yeah, I also like to play c6, b6. And the idea is that, okay, you can play it two ways. You can play with bishop a6 or bishop b7. And then you slowly prepare c5. So you start with knight d7. You can get rook c8 and then slowly prepare c5 break at a good time.
Exactly. So the idea here is usually to play knight d7, rook c8, c5, try to break up the center. But in the game, he played knight e5, tried to challenge me a little bit. And I decided to go for this bishop. And then I tried to block the center completely. I just stayed very solid, no risks at all. No risks for any advantage. Again, the same strategy, which is kind of bad sometimes, but since I know I'm playing against a very strong player, I just want to keep solid. So he's having a slight edge here, but I'm, again, keeping solid in the position. Don't give him any chances. Suddenly, I'm starting to play with some counterplay here on the king side. Here he was thinking a lot. He was not comfortable with the position that much.
So yeah, e3 is almost forced if you want to keep the pawn on e5.
Yeah, so in this position, I made a huge strategic mistake. This is also interesting. So the best way to play in this position is to take and go rook g8. But what I played during the game was rook g8, where he took, and after this, the difference is that the pawn is on e3 instead of f2, which makes the white pawn structure much more solid.
So now these pawns are defending each other. So e3 defends f4, defends e5.
In this game. But still, I kept solid. Like king h1, I go king g8 again, asking him to show his cards. And he actually made the life very difficult for me. Went bishop h5, couldn't get anything, shuffled a little bit. And he found a very nice idea to play queen f1 and bishop a6 to trade this bishop. Because this bishop, although it's bad, it's holding all these pawns together.
Yeah, knight is doing a good job on d4.
Yeah, knight is so good. This knight is just a monster.
Yeah, and this is like a close structure right now. The pawns are, close structure. So knight is much better than any of the bishop here.
Yeah. So he's starting to create some ideas on the queen side, but I'm still holding solid. Like my pawn is solid. I'm defending both pawns with bishop and the queen. And the big problem that he's facing is that whenever his queen moves here, I will go queen g6 and I have enough counterplay on the g file. So
and he has to go back then.
Yeah, and he has to go back and he doesn't make any progress. So in the game, he decided to trade the rooks like this.
To eliminate that whole idea.
Like up to here, I played very well. Like up to here, I kept the equality against one of the best players in the world. I was very happy. But in this position, the drawing line, can you guys find that? The way to draw this position with black?
Okay, let's think.
Anybody has an idea here?
So, okay, I'm also thinking, shall we activate the queen here, maybe?
Yeah,
maybe
so
h5.
The thing about the queen is that, first of all, my pawns are a little bit hanging. So once his queen is on f1, if I activate the queen and sack a pawn, usually I can't get enough perpetual because his queen can always guard his king. So the best idea here is to only activate the queen when his queen leaves f1. When the king is defenseless, it's always good to activate your queen.
Okay, so that means we can't move the queen right now because c6 hangs. Then we can't move the bishop on d7 against c6 hangs. So only left is king and the dark square bishop then.
So the idea here is to play bishop d8. Brilliant move. If I played bishop d8 in this game, it would have been so hard for him to make progress, because the idea behind bishop d8 is that if he goes queen a6 and tries to attack these pawns, I have queen g6 check. And the thing is that after king f2, my bishop can join the attack. And now suddenly he's in trouble because his king doesn't have any defenses, and my queen and bishop can create so many mating ideas.
Yeah, and surprisingly, your king is much safe here, with nothing to worry about, at least for a few moves.
The only problem is that not to lose these pawns. If I lose these pawns without getting any compensation, I'm going to lose very easily. But bishop d8 was the move that I missed. The reason I missed that, I had like 1 minute here. I was in deep time pressure because he asked me a lot of questions during the game that I had to solve. That's what happened.
On the board, you should mention on the board.
I played the queen a7. What I calculated here was that after queen a6, I'm going to take. And after he takes, I take. He takes, I take, he takes, I go here. And once the knight goes back, I go here. And this is a draw. I calculated this line in my time pressure. And I thought that this should be a draw because, and it's the draw actually, because my king holds the pawns, the bishop holds this pawn, and at some point I can easily trade this bishop to the knight. That's going to be a peaceful draw. And I was happy. I'm making a draw finally. I'm finishing it off. And the thing was that the thing I missed is that after bishop c6, he has this check.
Yeah, very painful. Very painful.
And if the king goes here, he takes and he picks up this bishop, and I have to do that.
We're so close, so close.
Exactly.
So it's so unfair that just one move just changes the complete outcome of the game. Just bishop.
That's what you get when you play against the stronger opponents. That's the difference.
Yeah, and you held for a long time, and then we needed that bishop d8. But just one move, which even doesn't look like, a very bad move. But queen e7 just changes the whole thing.
I was thinking that after queen e7, he's probably going to play something like queen c1 to hold his pawn. I thought that after this, it's going to be an easy draw. So I thought he might keep going with queen c1. And then I was planning to go like maybe queen h4 ideas once the queen leaves.
After bishop c6 also, is there no way to defend? I guess not.
No, after bishop c6 in the game, because he's attacking my bishop, the knight is holding c2. I don't have any
Yeah, maybe
check.
you have to go queen e7 and then he will take and e6
and then I lost this very crucial pawn, and that's just over in like 3 moves. Simply just destroyed. Just all the foundation of my solid position evaporated, and I lost the game. So here I resign.
Yeah, painful.
But of course, he deserved that because he kept going, he kept asking questions, put me in time pressure, and of course, finally I made the mistake.
Yeah.
And
this was a long, positional struggle. So both of the sides fighting for small details till the end. But that knight on d4 was the main hero of this game.
The knight on d4 was just a monster, just attacking all the pawns and holding against all my counterplay with checks.
Yeah.
So that's all that I prepared for today. I think we are good. Any other stuff to discuss?
Yeah, wow, that was really amazing session, I must say. And you had very well planned for today. I really enjoyed it, and I think viewers also enjoyed it a lot. And
hopefully.
Yeah, of course. And thank you for this collaboration stream and also preparing all the things that you had shown us for today. Well done, and thank you so much for the stream today. Guys, let's all thank Koosha for such a brilliant and amazing and interactive, instructive session that we had today.
Of course, thank you so much, everybody. Also, thanks so much, Rucha, for having this collaboration. Hope you and everybody in your chat also enjoyed. And hopefully we can have more sessions like this. Maybe next time you can.
Yes, of course. It will be, it will be a pleasure because I really like instructive streams like this. And we can have collaboration streams again, and everybody will love to learn from such sessions. And of course, Koosha is a streamer on Twitch, and I will give him a shout out. So guys, do follow Mr. Koosha Isis.
Thank you so much for a shout out. I'm also going to give a shout out to Rucha here.
Yeah, his username is Mr. Koosha Chess. And you can
streamer.
check him out on Twitch, and do support him, do give him a follow. He's also streaming right now, so you can see his live right now, but do support him so that you catch his other streams. And he also does a lot of instructive streams, a lot of playing streams. He also plays with viewers a lot, so lots to learn from his channel.
Of course, thanks for the kind words. Hopefully you guys and people on Rucha's chat enjoyed the stream, and you can also rewatch the stream if you want to, if you think it's instructive and you can get something out of it. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Hopefully I can help you guys with chess a little bit with that games.
Lots of tilting as well.
Also helped me a lot during this stream by asking some critical questions about the openings, about the positions. I learned a lot as well.
Yeah, I think we should definitely have more streams like this. It's, you know, it's very helpful, and it's good to have such educational streams where everybody learns something from it. So this is just amazing, and we can plan something again.
Right.
And what are your next plans in tournaments on the board?
My next plans, I'm actually planning 3 tournaments before the end of 2021. I'm trying to get my title. Any title is appreciated here. So I'm playing in 3 tournaments. One of them is in Canada, a very short tournament again, 5-round tournament. And then I play 2 big opens in Spain. And I'm also having some commitments to the university, of course. So need to actually pay attention to them as well. My thesis, my courses. So
how is your study going on right now?
Yeah.
So you're doing a PhD, right? Currently?
Yeah.
So how is it going? Lots of work?
It's going well, yeah. I'm doing well in the courses. I have 1 more course to finish here, but after that I need to work on the thesis and dissertation and everything. So it takes some time. I can't only study and stream chess. So I need to spend most of my time on my studies. But I'm trying my best to improve on chess as well, improve my ratings.
Yeah, it's good that you have, 3 tournaments planned, 3 tournaments coming up, and we will all wish you that you complete your title soon. We would like to see you, not only as FM, but also IM, and of course, the grand title of Grandmaster. You can do it. You are working hard, since I have seen your journey since last year. Like we started streaming from last year, and we have seen this journey, and you have been working hard, so we believe that you will get what you want. So just stay motivated and keep working.
Of course, I also hope you also improve a lot and get your WGM title, maybe even Iron title. So
let's do this at the end in this year. Let's make a goal to do it this year.
Of course, we are trying our best to improve. So I think we are almost done.
Yes.
So would you like to rate somebody simultaneously?
Sorry?
Rating somebody simultaneously?
Yeah, sure. We can do that. Let's do it.
Who do you think about?
Okay, let me check who is streaming. I don't know.
If you guys also have a recommendation for the rate, for the double rate, let me know.
Okay, whom shall we rate? Maybe Adriana or Game Over Bro?
Both of them are fine with me. And anyone that you say, I'm fine with that.
You select, it's okay for me.
No, just you go ahead.
Okay, then let's go to Adriana.
Okay, sure. So we are going to send you to Women Grandmaster Adriana Nikolova, very strong Bulgarian woman Grandmaster. You guys can learn a lot. She also does so much of instructive stuff. I think it's good for you to pay a visit to her stream. So that the moment that you say, I can click the rate button. And
yeah, I have already started the rate as well.
I'm also started it, so we can do it exactly at the same time.
Okay, goodbye everyone. Thank you, and goodbye everybody on your channel as well.
Everyone.
It was great fun, and take care. Bye everybody. So let's rate.
Wait.
Okay, let's rate. Come on.
1, 2, 3, go.